here?
I suppose I'm here to make friends with you and your dad's too, but my heart is broken
Why is it broken?
because of what I have to podcast today.
Come in.
I think, no, what's the question?
Oh, sorry. Who's there?
Podcast. What's the follow-up?
Podcast who?
Podcast at the cabin.
So stupid.
I don't
Yeah.
like this voice you're doing.
I know.
It's kind of unsettling.
It's me. It's the podcast at the cabin. Look, there's a filmmaker who once every 2 years decides to knock at our door with a new film.
He really is like clockwork, isn't he?
Yeah.
We've been doing the show. We're coming up on our 8th anniversary. We're going to our 9th year of doing this show.
Is it 4 new movies he's released
Correct.
during that period? Yeah.
The only guy who's matched him is Spielberg. Steven Spielberg has had 4 films since we covered him. Shyamalan obviously was the first director we covered as proper blank check miniseries. So he had a head start on everyone else. But even still, I believe it's Spielberg has 4, Shyamalan has 4, every other director has 1.
Yeah, there's no one with 2. Yeah.
Verhoeven's made 1. Gina's made 1. Zemeckis has made 1. We're talking since completion of miniseries. Cameron's made 1.
Pretty good one, though.
They're pretty fucking killer one.
Yeah, pretty good one if you think about it, actually.
Do you know about Pyakon, the Outcast Tolkien?
Well, Nolan will have made 2
Nolan's
this year.
oh.
He's going to get us 2,
right. Yes.
right?
Nolan's
His-
getting us
he's
to
Because
getting-
Tenet
he's
was
getting
the
his
only
set.
one that
Correct.
we hadn't done. Okay.
Correct. Right, because some of them it's a
Well,
little unfair.
Dunkirk, Dunkirk, we timed it to Dunkirk, right?
Some of them it's unfair because we time them a little bit. Same with Detroit.
Same with the Power of the Dog.
Right.
Same with, But
Yeah.
you know what? You know what?
To revisit a director.
What's important is that Shyamalan is working a lot and efficiently and successfully. Like
Not only
consistent
that,
success. Yeah.
but he has made 4 movies since we finished covering him in 2016, and all 4 of those films have been self-financed by the Bank of Shyamalan.
Sure.
That
What a
is
king.
the wildest part.
And I don't know how this one's going to go, but it is basically tracking to make its budget back in its opening weekend. So it's going to be basically 4 bets in a row that paid off.
Right, and look, varying levels of success, but he basically seems to have established a model where he cannot lose money, where at least all these films are going into slight profit.
Glass made $250 million
That's the thing.
worldwide, and that movie was not like.
People hate that film, whereas I think it's a masterpiece.
I do too.
But this is the thing. He has basically kept the budgets at the exact same general level that is easily passable. Basically, an opening weekend alone, he pre-sells distribution and foreign and everything. And it's like either the movie's a big hit or it makes a little profit. And either way, every time he's fucking mortgaging his house.
It was basically like, so it was like The Visit was 5,
Yeah.
Split was like 10,
Uh-huh.
and then like Glass on, they've all been about 20.
20 is his zone
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
And like actors want to work with him so he
Yeah.
can get them for reasonable prices. And like you say, he just kind of, delivers in the same time slot usually.
He's an efficient filmmaker. He knows what he can pull off. He builds films around locations that he knows he can shoot in, right? It's pretty impressive. We're talking, of course, about Menage Nights Shyamalan.
Yes, M. Night Shyamalan. How old is he these days? 52 years old.
Yeah.
He's like LeBron. He's got like another 40 years
I
in
know.
him making
It's
these things.
wild how young he was at his sort of like peak of cultural
That's what I'm saying.
prominence.
Look,
Look, this is a podcast called Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
So fast. He hasn't made a movie about a fast guy yet.
What if a guy was fast?
They should do more like dun 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 dun. They should do.
Oh, they should do fun knocks?
Yeah.
Is this the official name of that
shave
shave and a haircut?
2
bits.
Yeah. Eddie! Please, Eddie. He should also do a Roger Rabbit movie. That's another thing I'm saying. M. Night Shyamalan should do a movie about a fast guy. He should do Fun Knocks, and Roger Rabbit he should bring back. Not make a Roger Rabbit sequel. He should just cast Roger Rabbit as an
Like
actor.
as in a role.
He's a good actor.
I mean, people love him.
You ever see Tummy Trouble? Anyway, this podcast called Blank Check. A podcast about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their career, say, making The Sixth Sense,
Right.
and or given a series of blank checks, make whatever crazy passion products they want. Sometimes those checks clear, say signs. Sometimes they bounce baby, say lady in the water. And then sometimes, as we've said, a man establishes his own line of credit and is able to issue the checks to himself.
Yeah. It's funny. He's worked with every major studio now, but I feel like he'll never leave the Universal stable, right? Like he's
No.
so
We
so
were
ensconced.
so excited when the old school Universal
Oh.
logo came up at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
We started
I
clapping.
snaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the opening credits of this thing are
Fantastic.
great.
The opening credits, it was very fun to discover what they meant after watching the movie, because it's all of
sure.
the visions
Yes.
on the the Mexican restaurant menu, the nurse's log,
Right.
the school stuff.
Fuck. See, I'm already excited to watch
This
it
is
again.
Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah.
This is now, what number movie is this from? 13? Is this Unlucky 13 for M. Night?
15.
Wow.
This is including Praying with Anger and
Yeah,
Wide Awake,
they count.
of course.
You
They
have
count.
to you have to include Wide Awake.
Yeah.
My
I-
feature film debut.
Yeah.
I did know that.
And Praying
I
with Anger.
did.
M. Night Shyamalan's feature film debut as an actor.
And
Yeah.
yep.
Is he in this movie?
Oh yeah, Ben.
You didn't spot him?
Are you
He's
joking?
trying
Did you
to-
go to the
He's on the
bathroom?
shopping channel.
He's
Well, no.
selling
I
us
mean,
air
I saw a
fryers.
really good salesperson.
You
Oh yeah.
Oh, you think he just like
who just
vanished
really
into
like
the role?
just vanished. I was
He
just like,
really-
that fried chicken
I
looks
loved
good.
his cameo.
Yeah,
I did
I'm
too.
so curious about this QVC type channel that
Marie
also has breaking news.
had a lot of questions about this.
Well, it's
Yeah.
a real channel. I mean, that's a real
I was trying
thing.
to make out the letters because they sort of make it so it looks like MSNBC.
Right,
but
it
then
was
if
a
you look
fake.
closer,
It was a
it's
fake
like
news channel.
NLMN.
This is a real
SFEQ.
question. If planes started falling out of the sky in their hundreds,
Yeah.
would QVC break into that?
Well, what did they do on 9/11?
I don't know.
They probably had to address it on
Right?
9/11.
Yeah.
This is my question. Maybe QVC, like the guys
Yeah.
are like, hey, turn off that feed.
I'll say this.
Wait, I'm going to Google this right now.
My
QVC
sister, Raleigh
9/11.
Newman, young person, right? So when 9/11 happens, she's 3. I remember there being a thing where my parents were like, she can't process what's happening, despite the fact that it was happening out our window. And my mom and dad were like, here are the channels you can't turn on.
Sure.
Because a lot of entertainment channels were preempting their coverage with the news coverage of their sister networks. So whatever like conglomerate they were under, it was like Nickelodeon was maybe uninterrupted, but ESPN was playing ABC News.
Right.
You know?
So I have an answer for what QVC did during 9/11.
Great question. Great answer. Give it to me.
I'm going to read this from lostmediawiki.com.
Big fan of Lost Media.
Came up when I Googled QVC 9/11. American free-to-air shopping channel QVC was in the middle of airing live programming on September 11th, 2001, when the September 11th attacks occurred.
Mhm.
With their increasing seriousness and scale, the events eventually led to abandonment and temporary suspension of network programming during an airing of Denim & Co. a few hours after the attacks began. A slide was put up to note that the program was suspended and that one should turn to a news channel, alongside later adding an additional slide with contact information to donate to the American Red Cross.
So they just said stop watching.
Yes, they
Wow.
said move on,
Yeah.
shopper.
I thought you were going to ask, David, if planes started falling out of the sky, what would you do?
What would I do? I'd be like, told ya.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Nicky Finkett.
Look, M. Night, one of the few people who is sort of a brand name in and of himself. And because of that, he's been able to get original films made throughout his career, right?
hmm
His last 2 films, adaptations, obviously he did Last Airbender before, but that felt like an anomaly in his career. And now he is like using other starting points to craft proper M. Night movies. Old, of course, was loosely based on a graphic novel. And this is both, and I was looking at the credits, I thought this was interesting. I don't know if you caught this. It's both based on, obviously, Cabin at the End of the World, the book that came out a couple years ago.
Yes.
But there also is a credit that says
Paul
it is
Tremblay.
loosely inspired by Griffin Newman's current worldview.
Yes, exactly.
It does say that.
Yeah, it says that.
Loosely, like the comedy stylings of Tim Allen. It's like sort of,
Mhm.
we crafted, obviously you couldn't make a movie out of my despair spirals, but you could use it as a jumping off point.
Mhm.
It's a movie called Knock at the Cabin about how everything's bad.
Not everything's bad.
Not everything.
That's
what
the
it's
lesson in the movie.
about.
I don't know if I mean, this is some of what I've struggled with this film. I'm struggling with this movie, I will say,
Mm.
David.
Yeah.
You far and away liked it the most of the 4 of
Yes.
us.
Yeah. I'm
The three
aware
of us
that.
had pretty mixed
Yeah.
opinions.
I said this is a real turd.
He said it was a
Called
turd.
Ben said it
Ben
was a
called it a
turd.
It was a
turd.
turd that you can't get to flush.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know that
Grogan.
kind of turd.
Mhm.
Producer Ben did not like it. Marie Bardi, Party Bardi.
Hey, Griff. Nice to be here.
Native of M. Night Shyamalan's stomping grounds.
Correct. QVC, also a
Based out of
Philadelphia
Philly?
area
I didn't know that.
company. But yeah,
Coming back once again for a Shyamalan.
Of
movie.
course.
Yes.
Happy to be here. I'm still chewing on this film.
I am too.
It's not going down easily.
It's not. And
It's like a turd.
I wouldn't go so far as to call it a turd.
yeah.
It's like one of those like really crusty baguettes that's like a little rubbery too, and you're
Mhm.
just chewing the bread. You know, like you're eating a sandwich and you
Sure.
like the meat inside the sandwich.
Yeah.
But the bread itself is like
How's this metaphor doing?
not well.
It
But
doesn't. It doesn't flush easily. You're trying. The baguette's not going down the toilet.
It's not. I don't want
You
to.
have to
I
eat
don't
the food
want to.
before you flush
I don't
it
want
Yeah,
down.
to bring
that's
the
the
This
problem.
is
toilet
the mistake being
in.
made.
I've been trying to cut out the middleman.
Just
I go, maybe
dumping
I don't
spaghetti
have
into the toilet.
indigestion if I
saying,
get my food
I'm-
to go, bring it home, put
I'm
it
just
straight
saying,
into the toilet.
I'm still chewing. I
Sure.
haven't been able to swallow
I have
and
not
sit
either.
content
No.
with my meal.
And
I'm
I
still
was-
chewing.
I would say I was pretty amped for this movie.
Yes.
I think without having unreasonable excitement or expectations, but I've just loved the run that M. Night has been on.
Mhm.
Not without
Yes.
exception. I struggle with Split, but I've liked this recent run a lot. And on paper, I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I want to see him doing.
Right.
This is a great setup for a film.
Mhm.
Batista's a really interesting actor
Yep.
for him to be working with.
Yep.
One of my favorite guys right now. And I just sat there and kept waiting for it to click for me. The feeling I like, and look, we talk about this a lot. He is an aggressively unsubtle filmmaker,
Mhm.
right? And his tone and his pitch and his style are so weird and can be so off-putting for people that a lot of folks watch his movies and immediately go, I can't fucking handle any of this, right?
Mhm.
Just immediate turnoff for me. Whereas I'm very much on the wavelength of everything he tries to do. But I feel like in most of his movies, you sit there, and whether or not it's a twist movie, I feel like there's a lot been made already about this is a movie that feels like it's building towards a twist, and the twist is almost the lack of a twist. The twist is almost this film being exactly what it presents itself to be.
Mhm.
Okay, I have to. Are you aware of the books?
I am.
Yes.
All this
Okay.
to say, I spent the whole movie going, when am I going to click into what he's really trying to do here? And I kept on feeling like I was getting close and I couldn't quite understand what he was trying to say. David, let's talk about the book.
Well, because I watched this movie unaware. I knew it was based on a book, but I didn't. And I knew that there was a little chatter out there from people who read the book being like, I wonder if he's going to do the plot of the book
Mhm.
in that kind of concerned tone.
Sure.
I watched this movie
Mhm.
and then I looked up the book. And if they had put the book on screen, do you know what happens in the
Yes,
book?
I do know. So we're
Is
about to get into
F
our-
cinema score $0.
Yeah,
We
we're
looked-
about to get into
Right.
spoilers.
We dug into this after the movie
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
We did some book digging. But
Right.
yes, we're spoiling both the book and the movie.
Yes,
Proceed at your
spoilers.
own risk from here on out.
But beyond the fact that I think the book's plot would have been kind of unpalatable for a movie,
Mhm.
that he read that book and then fundamentally changed its takeaway is fascinating to
Yes.
me.
Internet, semi-reliable resource of
Clickety
facts.
clack.
Yes. What I read yesterday made it sound like, and perhaps you will correct me here, this was a book that was optioned as a movie in its manuscript stage before it was even published. I believe Universal gets the rights to it. They
Mhm.
hire two writers who are the two writers who get credit on this film with Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Shyamalan has his deal. What's his company called? Blinding Edge
Mhm.
with
Yep.
Universal now for distribution. At some point, Universal throws to him, hey, here's a thing we have. Would you maybe want to come on board as a producer? He goes, this is interesting. He reads the script.
Yeah.
He reads their script adaptation of the book,
Yeah.
I think before he reads the book. Goes, this is interesting, comes on as producer, then goes, I'd like to have a pass at this as a writer, and then decides he's going to direct it.
Yeah.
So he's working off of mostly the adaptation that already existed in script form more than sparking to the book. But I don't know
I
if
think the adaptation was straightforward. and
I
he
think so
changed
too.
it.
I don't think much had
Yeah.
been changed at that point.
That he read that story and changed it so profoundly is so M. Night.
Mhm.
Yes.
That he read a book that is so profoundly pessimistic in its viewpoint and anti-religious in a way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
and was like, I see sort of like a spiritualism in here, and I see a chance for optimism in future. Sort of like it's just so M. Night. What a guy.
Yeah.
What a wild guy.
Who was the guy? Oh, we were talking about with Danny Boyle. He was saying it's weird how many filmmakers start out thinking they maybe want to be priests.
Right,
Yes.
totally. And M. Night's a classic example of it.
Yes.
Not that he, obviously he's a Hindu, but he went to Catholic school.
that's-
He's so
With
fascinated by faith.
Mhm.
Went with
He
Maria
wanted to make Life of
different times.
Pi.
Yes.
That was like his huge passion
But
project,
but
which is
that
about
weirdness
like
of-
this person,
yes.
struggling between
Him
faiths.
being this immigrant who goes to a Catholic school
Yes.
despite not being Catholic because it was the best school, and he's in an environment where he's
Was it the best school?
indoctrinated with this.
I wouldn't say it was the best
I-
school.
But
It was
it was
a
a-
good school that was slightly more affordable than some of the fancier schools.
Right, sure.
I think his parents at that point in the 80s or whatever thought that was the best place for him to be, even if it was not their religious dogma. But yeah, so he's like inundated with this thing that is not necessarily his religion that he was raised with. But faith has been a very interesting thing throughout all of his.
He talks
movies.
about it, I feel
Yes.
like, quite openly.
Yes.
How interested he is by it. So the plot of The Cabin at the End of the World is very similar. Just I know you guys know this, but
Yeah.
just to put it out
The
there.
basic setup.
Very similar. The setup is the same. There's a gay couple with their adopted daughter. They're on vacation. 4 weirdos show up at the door with medieval weapons.
Mhm.
And they're like, we don't know each other, but we've all had visions of the end of the world. And we've all had visions that one of you has to kill another one of you.
It's
To stop
what do you
it.
call it? A trolley car problem.
Yeah, sure.
You have to
Exactly, yeah.
choose between the three of you which one dies, and one of you dying will prevent the apocalypse.
But you have to intend to kill.
Mhm.
Yes.
Like it has to be a conscious thing.
right.
The plot plays out the same, except when about halfway through, one of the guys gets his gun
Uh-huh.
and tries to challenge them.
Yes.
The gun goes off in the struggle and kills the daughter,
Yes. The small, adorable girl.
little
Yes.
cute girl.
Right.
And they're like horrified and also like, is it over? And the guys are like, it's not over because you didn't mean to.
She
do
wasn't
that.
a willing
Right.
sacrifice. It was an accident.
And so they all kill each other, the
Yes.
invaders,
Yes.
intentionally. They're
Yeah.
all, killing themselves off one by one. And then the couple decides not to kill each other because they're like, whatever God would do this is not a God worth sacrificing ourselves for. We will face the end of the world together
Correct.
if it is happening. Which
At
it
the
seems
very
to be
least, we have each
happening.
other. Our love is the one true pure thing in this world. And also beyond that, even like what kind of God would not be satisfied by our daughter
Sure,
dying?
right.
What an asshole. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, what an asshole.
What this guy, what an asshole.
Sure,
Yeah.
he made flowers.
Overrated.
Just be funny. Just thinking about God in that way, where you're like, yeah, there's things I like. Sunshine.
God never
Pretty
directed
good.
Unbreakable though.
Well, but then in a way, did he?
Did he? Was his hand guiding Minaj?
And I think in the book there is a little more ambiguity as to whether the end of the world is really happening
Sure.
or if it's just a really
Right.
shitty day.
Right.
Right.
This movie's pretty definitive.
This movie is more definitive as it goes on
Sure.
that the end of the world does seem to be happening,
And basically,
that their
God does seem
sacrifice
to be real.
matters.
Yeah.
God is real.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
And that the choice they make will stop it.
Yes.
Obviously, the movie's progressing in the same way of it seems ludicrous to begin with, and
Mhm.
blah blah blah. More and more bad things start
Yeah.
happening. But and then of course this movie has the totally different ending of one of them does decide to kill the other one, and it does seem to stop the underworld. Also, the kid doesn't die.
Yes.
Kid doesn't die.
Little Wen lives to
Lives
see another day.
with her
Yes.
one daddy,
with her
with one remaining parent.
Ben Aldridge.
yeah,
Ben
Daddy
Aldridge.
Andrew.
Yeah. Daddy Andrew. Daddy Andrew and Daddy Eric.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you have Jonathan Groff as Daddy Eric. You have the great Dave Bautista, and then the other three intruders are Abby Quinn, Rupert Grint, and what's the other actress
Nikki
name?
Asuka Bird.
Who's so good.
Amuka.
Amuka,
Bird,
excuse me.
Who is so good. She was
the
also
doctor
in Old.
Yes. Yes.
She's just a great actor. She's
Yeah.
been in lots of
Yeah,
things.
she's a Brit.
She is a Brit. Well noticed.
Whilst that, this is the only other Rupert Grint movie to get wide distribution in the United States outside of the Harry Potter franchise.
I mean, I can believe that because he's made so few films.
So few.
And they're all like British films.
He was in the GB movie that the
yes.
involuntary manslaughter guy.
One of our
made.
most criminal filmmakers.
What's his name?
Randall
Miller.
something.
Yeah.
Randall Miller.
Randall
Yeah.
Miller.
Yeah, he
The
really is
Thunderpants,
only.
the movie about the farting boy.
That never got an American release.
Never got an American release.
I don't
Huge
know, that
in the
one-
UK.
Yeah, that one kind of
Yeah.
hit in the UK.
Yeah. But he doesn't do a lot. He's been doing M. Night's Servant
Yeah,
TV show,
have you guys
right?
watched Servant?
I've not.
No, and Emma Stefanski, who I saw this film with,
Yeah.
keeps telling me to watch it.
I've heard
and she says
people
he
like
plays a
it.
dang ass weird freak in that
Yeah.
one
I
too.
thought, I'm sorry, I'm about to be a little mean.
Uh-huh.
I thought he was terrible in this
I thought he
movie.
was really good in this.
Oh, I thought he was
You
so
thought he
bad.
was terrible?
I thought he
in
was
this?
terrible.
I thought he was really good in this.
Yeah, he's good in this. That's
no,
crazy.
He's not. He's terrible. When he died, I was like, thank God we can move on.
I was disappointed.
Yeah, you were like, I wanted more Roop.
Yeah.
What, whatever accent he was trying to do.
Let's do an accent. Mean guy accent.
He's kind of doing Caleb Landry bag.
yeah.
Ew.
I just
He's
love
doing
that
laundry
he's
back.
because everything I've heard about him is
Mhm.
he's rich,
Straight chiller.
he's a straight
Oh,
chiller.
Yeah,
And if he's
seems like a nice
working-
guy.
Yeah.
He only is doing it because he's like interested.
Right.
And
I have
he,
nothing
he and
against him.
Shyamalan, he's just decided to be Shyamalan's little freak boy.
I think
Yeah.
that's cool. I just was not impressed with what I saw of Ron Weasley in this movie.
I liked him.
Marie's not impressed.
Nope.
Ben impressed? I mean, because Grint's in the Ben zone. Grint could play Ben.
I mean, but he's like a bad scumbag.
He's a bad guy.
He's
Well, but
you
in the
you mean
movie,
in this movie?
Ron
Yeah.
Weasley is a cute,
yeah, Ron
nice
Weasley's
boy.
cute. I guess you never really did the Harry Potter thing, so you don't really know.
You've never
his
seen
other
any of them,
works.
right?
No, I did finally see
Oh,
them.
you did? Yeah.
Like over pandemic.
Sure.
Yeah.
I watched them.
That's weird. So you never watched them? Well, I guess you're a little older.
He didn't care about the
'Cause-
books. Yeah.
Griffin and I are the same age as
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe, and so we
But the Harry Potter
Grew
is
up.
the exact type of thing Ben is designed to hate
Absolutely.
in every way.
Absolutely.
You must have liked Ron a little, though.
No.
He's got a rap friend.
Listen, I watched those things.
Yeah,
And I did not absorb them at all.
sure.
Okay? It's just not for me.
Yeah.
that's fine.
Expelliarmus.
It's a pretty dope position
I was gonna
to
say,
hold
Ben,
in
yeah, you're
2023.
fine.
No one's
You're
ever going
fine.
to attack you
It'd
for
be
that.
weird if you were like, I watched them and I fell in love
Yeah.
with the wizarding world.
No.
Now.
No.
The rest of us are frantically trying to square this circle, and you got out clean.
Yeah.
Never was into it in the first place.
You're like, let me in.
Yeah.
Let me in.
Yeah, watched it later, didn't like it.
I mean, it's just it had no impact on me.
Yeah.
And I do believe in magic.
Yeah.
In a young girl's heart.
It's interesting to track their three separate careers.
Well, yes, it is. It's funny. I think he and Radcliffe are in similar zones. It's just that Radcliffe does more stuff.
He does.
Mhm.
But they're both in the zone of like, I'll play
Do whatever I
nasty
want.
little freaks
Yeah.
in indie stuff.
And then Emma Watson has been in the biggest things post Potter, but also feels like the least successful element of all of them, and now maybe is soft retired.
I feel like she's retired unless
Yes.
the right offer comes along or whatever. And it is crazy how it's so. I was talking about this as I walked out of the screening. Like,
Yeah.
she's in one of the most successful films of recent years.
Yes.
And everyone on earth, 100 out of 100 people on the street would agree she's the worst thing in it. And she's
Right.
not even that bad.
And
I'm
she's
talking about Little Women.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Beauty and the Beast.
No,
Like,
that
we're
thing
talking about
sucks.
financially
No,
successful.
fuck Beauty and the Beast.
Okay,
But,
well,
but
no
this
one
is the thing.
remembers
You're
that.
like, it's
but that
wild.
movie made a lot of money. I guess
It's-
Little Women kind of did too, right?
David-
Little Women was a huge hit that everyone is rewatching. It's
Yeah.
becoming a Christmas classic.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
movie's getting etched in stone. And
I agree.
everyone's like, Florence Pugh, Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah.
Fuck, even the other one. Scanlon?
Yeah.
That her name?
Yeah.
Bob Odenkirk. Everyone's posting Odenkirk. Do you ever see an Emma Watson gif? No.
David, I think similarly, though, to Marie's point,
I don't want to talk about Beauty and the Beast.
I
Yes,
need
it's
to
the same
say
thing.
this. I need to say this.
You do?
It is hard to think of an actor who got less of a bump for being the lead of one of the 10 highest grossing movies of all time.
It's not one of the 10 highest grossing movies of
At
all time.
the time of its release,
It might have.
Beauty and the
been.
Beast.
it not might, it was 7. It was in the top 10.
Did that make a Billy?
It made
Yes.
1, 2.
Oh, that's
It
ridiculous.
was humongous.
I mean, I did see it in theaters opening weekend.
For
and I
someone who
sang
was
along to the
already a
songs,
big
but-
ass celebrity,
But that's the thing.
to then be the lead of that movie and have the takeaway be she's pretty much done, right?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Yes.
Harry Potter is it.
Yeah.
You can't. There's
You're never
no
beating
bigger.
No, but that she had a huge hit and everyone's like, let's forget about that.
It's not bigger.
She's
You can't be bigger
Worst
than
part
Harry
of Little
Potter.
Women. And you're like,
Yes.
she's in This Is the End. She's in Perks of Being a Wallflower, Bling Ring. Like on paper, she has the best post-Potter career. On paper, you're like big projects.
Yeah, she's worked with
Yes.
good directors and high
Good
profile
star, all
stuff.
that.
It's
Yeah.
funny that we're talking about. She's not in this movie, obviously.
Yeah, I know. But
Like the Beauty and the Beast thing is not interesting to me in some way because it's sort of like those Disney movies are just. It's just so irrelevant.
Yeah,
for
they're
people who
soulless
are in
culture.
them. No
Sorry,
one
I
gets
I
bumps
shouldn't-
out of them ever.
I shouldn't
Sure.
badmouth the mouse. you know.
Oh, sure. But like,
But-
who got a
Hey.
bump out of any Disney live
They won't
action
send me the
movie?
poster. Yeah.
Who got a bump out of any Disney live action movie?
Great question.
No one.
Lily James got a mild bump. I do think it helped her be financeable
Sure.
at a lower level. She gets to
And that
be
was at
the
the
lead.
start. That was when they were
Yeah.
still some novels.
Right, and
Right.
she was more unknown than
But
most of their
the-
picks at the time she was
The
cast.
Aladdin leads, especially
This is
the
fucked.
guy,
No- no bump,
notoriously
no bump.
wouldn't get hired
no
for
bump.
anything.
I know.
What movie?
And then,
made
I mean, you have
money?
like
Yeah.
the racial aspects of that. where,
Right.
like,
I think
still,
it's beyond. It's bigger than
yeah.
that. It's like, no, we liked that. Well, we didn't like it, but you also, we didn't even register you.
But what the Jasmine lady, what's her name?
Naomi Scott.
Naomi Scott. I would argue she had more heat going into Aladdin than she does post
she had more
Aladdin.
heat off Power Rangers than off
Yeah,
that.
she
thing.
was the one who was kind of like, oh, Naomi Scott's like doing
But
shit.
that's why I
She's
think
good.
Little Women is interesting because
Yes.
I don't even think she's bad in that movie. She's
No.
not like amazing, but she's fine.
But also, Meg is like
Yeah,
everyone's
it's the-
least,
it's the
But it
least
was
interesting
favorite.
It was
role.
supposed
sister.
to be Emma Stone,
I know.
and
Yeah.
you cannot find a person who thinks, well, the
Emma
Emma Watson
Stone-
version's better.
Emma Stone's not a Meg though.
No, Emma
Emma Stone's a Joe.
Yeah,
Yes,
she would have been
but
bad.
she's too old.
But
to be
forget
a Joe.
Stone.
No.
Forget Stone.
Okay.
But like,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it,
yeah.
it's
Cast
more
the
just
Stone
like
aside.
that she was in a beloved movie.
Yeah.
People are posting screenshots from
Yeah.
it all the time. The youth found it. The
Yeah.
Zoomers love it.
People basically forget she was in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. I'm struggling to remember that she was in it right now as I talk about it.
Second build.
I
think
think
she's
she
first-
should
no, she was not
focus
second. Yeah.
on her non-acting work.
Yeah.
She seems to care deeply about literacy, feminism, and sustainability.
Yeah.
Use your platform, girl.
She hasn't made a movie since Little Women. She seems to be soft retired. I also think it's interesting that at the time of Potter, it felt like everyone was like, well, she's the one who's going to go on to have the longest
Absolutely.
career.
When Azkaban was the first time anyone thought any of the kids were good in that movie, and it was
Yes.
her.
Right. And you'd hear the stories of like, she's a little pro.
Yeah, she's the biggest find
Right.
of those kids.
Yeah.
And
And then you even get to this point where you're like, Harry Melling's good.
he's not just good. That guy's
Let's
amazing.
fucking do great
He's
shit.
fucking great.
Is
Yeah.
that Dursley?
Yeah, anytime he pops up in a movie, people are like, you know who,
Yeah,
walked
he's
away
great.
with it? Melling.
He's
Yeah.
great.
Another theft. Call the cops.
Yeah. He walked away with Buster Scruggs. He didn't have arms or legs.
That's true.
Dottie was someone I did like. The little guy.
Dobby.
Dobby.
I'm Dottie. You like Dobby? I mean,
Dobby the house
Dobby
elf.
was the one.
Yeah,
the one
he's got your energy.
takeaway.
He
Hits
wears
himself
weird-
in the head with
wears
pots and
weird
pans.
rags. He's kind of always making mischief.
Yeah.
He's sort of like, what if Yoda, but sort of, funny, I guess.
Yeah. Where's
Does
the
Has he
pillowcase?
been in anything else?
Dobby?
Dobby?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on an NBC show right now.
Is he the good doctor?
He
Yeah,
is.
he's the good doctor. Ooh.
He's like the
gag.
good doctor's rival. David,
Yes.
you like comedy podcasts.
No, not at all. What are you talking about? Oh, wait, I do. It's mostly what I listen to.
Well, let me ask you another question that might stump you. Have you heard of Scott Aukerman's Comedy Bang Bang?
I certainly have. Probably the second podcast I ever listened to, I think. Right at the start. Maybe the first. Right at the start there.
Yeah, might have been the first one for me too. And look, we've talked about it. A very influential podcast for both of us.
Yes. A great show that I have loved riding with over the many years. It's been on the air since I think 2009, right? Since 2009.
Let me
yes.
present two hypotheticals for our listeners, though.
Okay.
Imagine if you haven't heard it in a while, or even more confoundingly, if you've never heard the show at all in the first place.
That's a situation you got to fix. And this is a perfect time to check back in because the celebs are back in 2023.
They were a little skittish in 2022.
They were, it was weird times for podcasting and all that. But now
Yes.
Scott Aukerman's going to always interview an interesting person. You got Allison Williams. You got Jack Quaid, friend of Griffin Newman's.
Mm.
You got even Weird Al Yankovic. Griff, have you listened to the Allison Williams episode?
No, is it good?
She is phenomenal on it. She is so funny and so into the show.
She's kind of in the pocket right now. Look, this is the thing. It is, of course, primarily above all else, the show where Scott Aukerman talks to interesting people, right?
That is right.
That is
the tagline.
fundamentally the premise of the show. The problem is things quickly go awry when the show's open door policy brings in a wild cast of characters played by comedy favorites like Paul F. Tompkins,
Yeah,
past and future guest of Blank Check,
correct.
Andy Daly, Lily Sullivan, so many more. We've had so many Comedy Bang Bang regulars, I feel like, on the show over the years. Carl Tart.
Of course, we've had a lot of greats from Comedy Bang Bang on our show.
Yes, it's no coincidence.
Do you know the Gil Oziri Dr. Sweet Chat, the Small Talk Robot episode, Griffin?
Yes, I do.
I think I listen to that once a week. I listen to just that segment once a week.
I listened to Bob Duca's list of ailments
Oh God! Well, obvious, a classic.
about once a week.
God, I just recently really got into all of Gil Oziri's bits on that show.
He had a good year.
Have you listened to the one where he's the busiest man in the world?
Yes, that's my favorite one of his.
Anyway, we're doing an ad read. Okay.
Look,
you
we're
can listen-
big fans. We're genuine fans. None of these were prompts they asked us to say. We're just listing different things we loved. Yes. The Paul F. Tompkins, Drew Tarver, where they're both doing their competing Mike Ehrmantraut impressions.
Yes.
Stay away
That's
from my
really
granddaughter.
Stay away from my granddaughter. That was really
This is what
good.
we're saying. The show's as good as it's ever been. It's thrilling.
Yes. And you can listen to new episodes of Comedy Bang Bang every Monday, wherever you listen to your podcasts. So check it out. So, M.
Knock
Night
at the
Shyamalan
Cabin.
has made this film.
Yeah.
I saw it at an Alamo screening when you were in LA.
Humble brag.
Thank you. And you guys saw it at the Regal Essex.
We
Yesterday.
did.
We saw just the very nice
Yeah.
before we're
Danny Boyce
recording this.
yesterday.
Let's just say this, okay? Because we ran into a listener at the theater. And
Okay.
Marie, you said that they on the Discord had posed the theory that perhaps there is a curse upon the three of us.
Yes.
Because, of course, Ben, Marie, and I, last main feed, new film from a previous director, Avatar: The Way of Water.
Mhm.
We went to see it at the Regal Union Square.
Day of.
Day of.
First screening.
First screening. Publicly, the first screening we could possibly go to,
Yep.
the earliest one on the first day. And the movie broke down. We had to go to a different screening. And then a month later, they announced that theater is closing.
Right.
Yesterday, we went to the Regal Essex, a different theater of the same beleaguered chain.
Yep.
That they're not closing.
Nope.
It's
As
so-
of now.
Yes, for now, not
Well,
closing,
I think that
not on the
because
list.
the lease is probably
Right.
Brand
far
new,
from
right.
expiring. I think their whole reason they picked Union Square is because the lease was ending.
And expensive.
Yeah, but I'm sure the Regal
Sure.
Essex one's expensive too.
Uh, But we went to the 5 p.m. Thursday showing. Once again, the earliest showing we could find at any theater yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Twice, David,
Mm.
the movie just froze.
Oh my
It looked
God.
like someone hit a pause button.
Yeah.
Sure.
It wasn't like glitching or
Do you
stuttering.
think someone did?
It just straight up, and both times they were in like high stress moments.
There's
where
not a
like
lot of low stress
No,
moments
like,
too. Yeah.
fucking Batista walking towards the camera with the axe, and then it just stops. And one time it was
And you're
Ben
like,
Aldridge with the gun in the
Yeah.
house.
This is an interesting choice by Shyamalan.
I
to
thought
stop the
truly, 'cause
movie.
Marie was like, he's not playing with the form as much as he has
I
been
know.
recently. And then the movie stops, and I was like, okay, where are we going?
And then the house lights came on. You were like, interesting.
Interesting.
Then a guy came in and he was like, theater's broken. And you were like, this is good. Oh, yeah.
No, it was that scary thing where it happened. It happened for like 30 or 45 seconds. It started up again. We went, oh, I guess we're in the clear. And then 15 minutes later, it happened again.
And then
you were
everyone in
like,
the audience went, no.
is it going to keep happening? And then we were safe. But
So it only happened twice. No one even went to
No.
complain.
It
over
was
that.
It looked like
they-
someone went
the
and complained.
pauses were, I think, less than 30
It's
seconds.
still quite annoying. A weird
Yes.
thing happened to me at the
Uh-huh.
Alamo. Not to call the Alamo out, because
Sure.
they usually, run a tight ship over there.
Yeah.
Did they not bring you your food?
No, they brought me my food.
Okay.
Thank God.
Because that's
Um,
the worst case scenario.
That is a bad scenario.
Yeah.
No, the movie ended, and then they were like, "No one can leave. We forgot to give you your checks." Because usually they drop the
Yeah.
checks around
Oh, sure.
40 minutes before, and then they clearly began the check process.
oh, fuck.
So I was in that theater for another half an hour,
Mm.
sitting with
Wow.
Emma, stewing.
I thought you were making a joke about critic payola. I thought you were saying the universal
My check,
checks came in.
please. No, my food check.
They
yes.
didn't buy you food? You had
Huh?
to pay for your own food? Is
Yeah,
that-
it was just look. The reason I saw it at the Alamo was they do those screenings sometimes where they just
Oh, this was a
do an
critic
advanced
screening. This was
Wasn't
an
it? I
early.
just jumped on it.
Yeah.
It's just two. You can get two
okay.
seats. I just took two seats because I was like, that means I don't have to go to the press screening at Lincoln Square.
Sure.
That's all.
Big
It's
special
closer
boy.
to my house.
Yeah.
And I have dinner with it.
Gotcha.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
And I saw a
wild. though.
bunch of blankets.
They locked the door from the outside and said no one can leave until you pay the check.
It was one of those things where I was like, what happens if I leave? And then I was just like, I bet they just I don't know. I don't want to take the
Dave
risk.
Bautista walked in and said,
A grave error has been made today.
One person has to pay everyone's bill. And you
I mean,
have
fine,
to decide.
Fine, as long as I can get out of here.
Every 30
can
minutes, an
Venmo me.
Alamo Drafthouse employee will commit suicide until the check is paid.
Anyway, so we both had little funny looks, but
Yeah.
my viewing experience was not interrupted.
sure.
I was with Knock at the Cabin.
Look,
the whole
I bring
time.
this up to say, not that I think the blank check curse is real. I think Marie, Ben, and I can go see movies and not destroy the theater going experience. But for all the hand wringing about how to bring the theater going experience back to prominence for people's minds, maybe these theaters should make sure their movies work. It is fairly damning.
Look, I don't want to say anything bad about Regal as a chain, but they are pretty bad chain.
I saw fucking Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I made a last wish the other night. It's fucking week 5 of that movie's release or whatever.
6 or
How was
Yeah,
it? Do you like it?
100.
I thought it was okay.
Griff
Oh,
was left out. The funniest thing though was that Griff was kind of mad on it, and then in the Doughboys chat, you were like, I just haven't been liking movies that much lately, and I was like, I was asleep. But
Sure.
I would have said, like, Griff, you liked Avatar, you liked this movie's you like. It's okay if Puss in Boots didn't knock you out.
No, there are a couple movies I loved. I've just been
You've been a little,
I've been a little muted on things. I saw Avatar 3 fucking times because it made me feel something.
I'm just saying, Puss in Boots
No, it's
not delivering is it is what it is.
I will say this. It started. Here was my arc on The Last Wish, and then we're gonna talk about a knock at the
Yeah,
cabin,
we
okay.
gotta talk about
Here
that
was
movie.
my arc on The Last Wish. I think I made it clear I do not have much fondness for the Shrek franchise. A franchise I loved when it came out. People think I have no nostalgia for it. I do. I just, when I've tried to give those movies a modern spin, they don't do much for me, right?
Yeah, because they're bad.
David, I will let you
You're-
take the slings and
yeah,
arrows on that one.
Easy.
Easy.
Bad.
Al Pacino would beg to differ.
Yes, he would.
Everyone keeps on saying Puss in Boots Last Wish, surprise banger, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I go into it being like, everyone's telling me this is a surprise banger.
Right.
First 5 or 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, this is cute, whatever. I don't want to see this, right? And then somewhere around the 10-minute mark, it really starts clicking for me.
Right.
There's
Banderas went full nude.
Banderas' performance is incredible.
I mean, he's so good,
Yeah.
actually. He really is.
There's the scene where the doctor starts recounting the different lives, and you're like, this is funny. It's kind of visually inventive. And then it gets into a good run, and the introduction of some of the supporting characters is fun. And I was like, okay, I see what everyone's talking about. This is good. And then, like, 2/3 of the way through, I was like, I'm maxed out on this thing. And I felt like a grumpy
Sure.
old man where I was just like, this movie's too loud. Too much is going on.
Your arms are increasingly folded.
Yeah, I was just like, this thing has the modern animation thing where it's like so relentless and whiz bang.
And it's also, isn't it like, it's kind of like an hour 45 or whatever.
It's like,
it
it's
could
like an
stand
hour
to be
45,
85 minutes.
and it feels like the last 45 minutes are like a series of set pieces on top of each other that start to feel abstract because it's just like nothing but guitar solos. And then by the end of it, I was like, it's good. It wore me out.
Yeah.
There was a point in the middle where I was really jamming.
You
on
liked
it.
Megan.
I like Megan. She's good.
Megan's good.
Yeah, I didn't love it. I like Megan. I liked, what was the other thing I saw? Wasn't crazy about A Man Called Otto.
Well, he's so curmudgeon.
I'm sorry. I know I said we have to talk about Knock at the Cabin. I've been waiting for
All
a
right,
more
do your
topical
auto
episode.
thing. Do it.
This was fascinating, and I have not heard a single person mention this. Man Called Otto.
Yeah.
The mildest
Mark
of spoilers.
Forster film. Uh-huh.
A movie about the grumpiest man in America, right? Pretty early on, you find out, one of the reasons he's grumpy, his wife is dead.
Right.
I don't think this is a major spoiler. There are more specifics to
Yeah,
this
whatever.
that are
Sure,
unfolding,
whatever.
right?
Auto spoiler.
But pretty early on, you sense the absence of the wife,
Right.
and he goes to a
Dave
great-
Bautista keeps trying to kill him.
Yes.
That's bugging him.
Otto, you're going to have to make a difficult decision.
Megan is there. He doesn't want to hear it from
Look,
her.
Otto would be able to solve a Knock at the Cabin pretty quickly. That's all I'm
He'd
gonna
be like,
say.
I volunteer as tribute, right?
Absolutely.
He's
But
ready to go.
early in the movie, Otto goes to the gravestone of his wife with a thermos of coffee and talks to her.
Sure.
On the gravestone, it says whatever, 1960 blank to 2018, right?
Okay, sure.
So I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, so his wife, he's died like 5 years ago. He's like 5 years on from the death of the wife, right?
Uh-huh.
Doing the math on the timeline. And then later in the movie, he talks about the fact that his wife died less than a year ago.
Uh-huh.
It has been less than a year from her death. And I'm
So
like,
the film's set pre-pandemic?
That was the thing. I was like, why would they make it that she died in 2019? Why wouldn't he make the
Because they
film
don't
present
want to
day?
acknowledge the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It was just the first time I've
It's-
seen a
yeah.
movie do that.
Well, it's
because
interesting to see
the
the
whole
approaches.
thing is like
right.
he's been alone without
no,
his wife and he's
yeah,
been
right.
miserable.
Yeah.
And you're like, if he then has to live through the pandemic, his entire mental state is so much
They don't
different.
want to think about that.
Do we
Yeah.
see the wife? Is it Rita?
No.
Glenn Close.
How was Rita's
Glenn
song?
Close.
Oh,
Glenn
get it. The wife. Good joke.
Yeah.
5 comedy points.
It's this what the woman I
gonna
always forget
give
her
you
name,
two
but she's a
back.
really
It
good
wasn't that
actor.
good.
She's on Fargo and Legion. She's a Holly vet.
Okay. But how's Rita's song?
It's okay.
Does it play over the credits?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good for her.
I'm trying to. I don't know who played his wife.
I think
'Cause I
she's
don't know
good
what her
actor.
name is.
I don't know. That's my own thing. I just hadn't seen that yet, and I think we're still in the era of figuring out
Yeah,
how
well,
different
'cause some-
movies
oh, is it-
deal with. Does this take place in a timeline where the pandemic existed or not?
Wait, it's Rachel Keller?
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, well, she's young. Oh, but you only
It's
see the
only
wife in like
flashbacks.
long flashbacks, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I like Rachel Keller.
I think she's a really good actor.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm fond of her.
You know, it's a similar thing with like Succession being like, pandemic never happened.
Yeah, well, some shows are like, let's not do it.
And a movie like this essentially being like, this needs to be a period piece because it has to be set before the pandemic.
What were you gonna say, Ben?
I was one of a handful of people that went to see House Party.
Oh, how was it, Ben?
Bad.
3-year-old house party and
Aw.
nobody came.
Yeah, no one showed up to this house party. It was just weird. It was like LeBron was one of the producers, and it's like it's his house.
The movie's all about it being his house.
But it's just he's way too close to the material. And the thing I was saying to the guys, it's like basically all of the jokes are like LeBron is one of the greatest people to ever live.
The premise of
right?
the original
like
House
that's
Party.
the premise of the comedy.
Premise of the original House Party. Two friends are like, I wish we were more cool. Right?
Throw a house party.
Yes.
In a house.
Right. Uncle is like, you better not throw a house party. Chaos ensues. Right?
Right.
This movie is guys get hired to house it or clean a house.
Clean a house.
They realize
Clean LeBron's house.
they realize it's LeBron's house. They go, we should bird in the hand, have a party at this incredible mansion. LeBron has a security system involved where he talks them through pre-recorded hologram messages,
Yes.
where he talks about how great he is, and it's like, you better not be throwing a party at my house.
Oh my god.
There's like a motive. It's like
Why is this movie about LeBron?
But isn't there also, not to spoil House Party, a thing where Kid Cudi reveals that like the Illuminati exists?
yes, of course. And he's going for it. Kid
That's
Cudi
cool.
is going for it, and it's bad.
Hmm.
Ben doesn't turd alert. This guy's smelling
He's
turds at the
flushing.
2023 box office rebounds. No, says Hosley.
I'm glad we're doing a lightning
Temporary
round
check-in.
catch up on the
Yeah.
December Jan movies. But A Knock at the Cabin.
Knock at the cat.
David, you go to see it a couple days before us. We saw it last night. You liked it a lot.
Yeah, tell us why you liked it,
I was
David.
I have more complicated reactions. I was very distressed by it. I found it incredibly upsetting.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Griffin and I sat in silence during the entire credit sequence and didn't know what to say.
I find it effective on that level.
Right,
It
right.
certainly did.
I think it's quite well made.
Yeah.
I kind of walked out of there with Emma being like, well, thought that was quite effective.
Mhm.
Don't like it as much as Old, which I think is just so
A glass
wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like the sort of swirl of goofiness with him, right? Like I
Yeah.
like the sort of super sincere plus like slight
Yes.
kind of wacky fantasy, and this was more straightforward.
Yeah.
But I do think it's just like a really interesting, weird Shyamalan moral parable.
It's
And
an
I just
interesting
respect the hell out of it. And who's making movies like this?
No one.
And I just like when you were looking at this body of work, it's just like he just keeps like swerving and doing interesting stuff and like challenging himself,
Yeah.
not doing the same kind of thing over and over again. Like not just doing genre exercises. Like if this was just a genre exercise, it'd probably be pretty good.
Mhm.
You know, like a kind of home invasion, Twilight Zone-y kind of thriller. I know the book is, he's going off the book,
Sure.
but I much prefer him doing this like from the mind of M. Night Shyamalan shit.
Yeah, I like this movie more zooming out and looking at the filmography as a whole.
Yeah.
Rather than having to like talk about it as a new release, which in and of itself I find a lot less interesting than I do within the larger narrative of his career. When we look back on his career at the very end of it, 87 years from now, it'll be like, remember when he did that? That was odd. Here's my biggest problem with this movie. And I was saying this to Marie, and I don't know if this is just where my head's at right now. For as much as I did find this movie effective in creating a sense of unease in me from
Yes.
beginning to end.
Right.
I will say I did not really feel any narrative tension from this movie,
This is what Marie said.
just because I, from the beginning, was like, I think this is real.
Yeah.
It felt like he was tipping the hand too much too early
Mhm.
in ways that took some of the ambiguity out of it. And so I sit there going, when does shit start getting really bad? I know there's an inevitable outcome.
Right.
We're sort of trudging towards, where does this final decision land? The movie I was comparing it to with Marie, which is one I've tried to rewatch a number of times and I still struggle with on the same level, is like Hateful Eight is a movie for me where the hour and a half in the middle, where it's like, which one of these people is a bad person, has no tension for me.
Right.
And I'm just like, I know there's going to be the point where everyone takes their guns out and starts shooting at each other.
Right.
And the fact that it takes so long to get there, I think for...
And Hateful Eight is not a short film.
No, it's not. But I think these are both filmmakers who are usually really good at finding some central area of tension and like stretching that wire out as far as they can until it frays and frays and frays and frays, and holding it really taut until the right moment.
Right. How would that work here?
I don't know. I mean, here was my first thought. Kind of feels like a strategic error to me in a visual medium as opposed to a book, where the reader is creating images in their head and thus are questioning what they're seeing because it's their own
Yeah.
interpretation. I kind of think the TV is a misstep in this movie.
So that's a change from the book?
No.
No,
That's right out
but
of
I
the
just
book.
think it plays differently if you, an audience member, are watching news footage that a director created and the thumb is being put
Yeah.
on the
Right.
scale there.
I mean, the suggestion brought up by the skeptic Daddy Andrew that maybe the broadcast was being like fed in from these like
Yeah,
they-
either it's totally fake or they knew
These are
That-
things that have been
these
going on. They're
reports.
hitting a
Right,
fever
but
pitch right now.
That to
but
me was way too big a leap.
I agree. I start to feel
Yeah.
it's weird how quickly the more Daddy Eric and Daddy Andrew start to rationalize why it couldn't be real, it feels like their leaps are becoming bigger
Yeah.
than the leaps of Batista and co. And it's the fact that like those news broadcasts are directed by M. Night Shyamalan, so they all have weird M. Night Shyamalan tone.
I hear you.
So I
on
look
that.
at them
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
but-
well, it feels like the world's ending.
okay.
Oh, go on,
Not to go all Griffey Newman on you,
please.
but if you turned on the TV and there was news of a pandemic, you wouldn't be surprised. There was news of a tsunami, you wouldn't be surprised. There was news of planes falling out of the sky, you'd probably start to get weirded out, but you could
Yeah.
imagine it.
Yeah.
Some kind of cyber attack.
Two
Absolutely.
tsunamis within
No, it's the same tsunami.
no, it's the two different earthquakes.
Yeah, but they're in the same place.
The Aleutian Islands and then off the coast of
But it's supposed to be the whole plate. It's the thing. There's a New Yorker article about it. We've all read
the
it.
big one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're referencing a real.
It's a real thing.
Uh-huh.
a real phenomenon.
It's a real worried about. There maybe 500 years ago there was a gigantic tsunami that wiped out the Pacific Northwest,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it'll happen again someday. Whatever. Blah blah blah. It's in the realm of possibility. Feels in the realm of possibility for the reality we live in. And I feel like that's what M. Night Shyamalan is trying to tap into, of this kind of thing of like, are we kidding ourselves every day when we watch stuff like that and we're like, well, that's just the reality we live in. Stuff like that happens.
Look, I did have the thought.
I don't know anyone else who's making movies about contemporary life that way.
Well, no. As I was walking away from this movie, I was thinking, what could I see on the news that would genuinely shock me now in
Sure.
that way? It does feel like we're at a point of just being like,
I don't know.
so,
A good sitcom,
well,
folks.
But David, Night Court's back.
I don't know. Congress getting stuff done,
this is what I'm saying though.
folks.
In terms of like apocalyptic things happening,
Yeah.
it's hard to imagine a thing I would be fully surprised by.
But there are things. A volcano just erupted in New York. Okay, that's
Insane.
weird. Never heard about.
Godzilla, kaiju.
Yeah, a monster appeared.
Yeah.
Sure.
But the last couple of years have contained a lot of things that felt like I could never imagine this feeling normal
Right.
to me. And as you're saying, David, it is weird to turn on the TV or open your phone and seeing these headlines that start to become a little blasé.
Right.
That is unnerving. I get what he's doing there. I like it.
Turning the dial up. Right,
Yeah,
obviously.
I just think it is. Once again, it speaks to M. Night's house style. Anytime they do one of these news broadcasts, yes, sure, these things could be on the news any day, and we'd maybe accept them. We wouldn't think it was a sign of the apocalypse, or people would just be making glib apocalypse jokes on Twitter,
Yes,
right?
Immediately.
But all of the news footage they show feels like
I hear you on the news footage. It's his thing.
And-
where
and
it
the
just-
They don't even
interest-
cut to Steve
Who's Steve?
in the studio, and he starts drawing.
Oh,
like,
Kornacki.
yeah. You see these planes?
And they could have. The guys in Universal they could have brought him in.
It's also the juice of this movie is the idea of Dave Bautista, who we let's talk about.
Great
He's,
performance.
Okay.
he's incredible.
Right. But the idea of like this guy who is such a walking contradiction in and of himself, who you
Yes.
cannot really get your hands around.
Immediately frightening, but then very gentle in his
Mhm.
Right.
presentation. but
And
carrying
those
a
things
big
are
weapon.
coexisting
Right,
at all
right,
times.
Right.
The idea of this guy looking you in the eyes and going, "You have to trust me.
Right.
I can't prove this to you, but this is real,"
Yeah.
is so much more interesting the more ambiguous it is. And him saying that to you is always going to be more effective than any imagery you can show
but you
in
have
a
to
setup
have
of
the
a movie
television.
like this.
Well, right, because
There's
of
no other
how
way
do
to
you
do it.
how do you expand
Yeah.
Yeah.
the world outside of the cabin?
I don't know. It is just that thing. I very early on in this movie go, why are Eric and Andrew being so?
No, I didn't do that though.
Yeah.
I very early on in this movie, I was like,
Once
"This is
again,
definitely
this is just me.
No, I know, but
yeah,
no, but I'm saying we had the same initial reaction where I was
Sure.
like, "This is true.
yeah,
Mm.
This isn't fake."
yes.
But then I had the same reaction, which is like my reaction would be to fight that, which is just like the human reaction. to
no, I'd give in. I'd fold my
well,
card.
but not if you had a kid.
Well, I don't. Thanks for rubbing it in.
No, but I'm saying like that's the tension of the movie.
Sure.
Is you're like, I can't kill my child's
Right.
But yeah,
father.
yes.
I can't do that.
Yes.
I can't do that. I can't do that. Plane lands. I have to do that. Like
Sure.
it's such a crazy thing. It's so upsetting and
Yeah.
interesting. Like, whereas if it's just the two of them, if it's a bunch of friends, then it's like, well, who do I like best? But the fact that there's a kid makes it so like wrenching, which is why I don't get that the kid dies in the book. Because then I'm just like, then I would just be like, kill me now.
I don't know. I like the idea of the ending more of just being like, well, we have experienced the most apocalyptic thing to our personal lives, which is
Yeah, but
our
then I would
daughter.
just want to die.
That's their point, though. They're like,
No, but then it'd be just like, just kill me. Fine. Who
They're
cares?
going into the apocalypse.
Yeah, but they're
because-
being told if we kill one of each other, you'll fucking save the world. I would have been like, fine, sure. At this point, sure.
no, but I think their whole point is like, we refuse to give you a fucking inch.
Right.
If you're
right,
telling
right,
us the
right. It's a
worst thing that
very
could happen is that
nihilist-
we also die, who gives a shit?
Yeah, but it's the rest of the world's gonna
is
die.
the world
Yeah, who
worth
gives a
saving?
shit?
Well, that's the difference
Right.
between Daddy Eric and Daddy Andrew.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As we learn in the flashbacks, Daddy Andrew has, it's not easy being a gay person. And
yes, Daddy Andrew
know,
has been
discrim-
homophobically
yeah.
attacked
Yes.
in his,
His
life.
parents
He
didn't
has
support him.
Right.
right.
I mean,
he has a
look,
much more.
This is a series of concerns that were thoroughly covered in the film I ended up watching as part of a double feature after Knock at the Cabin.
Which was
I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
okay. Oh,
I put it on and then was like, why am I fucking watching these two movies back to back? It was pretty jarring.
I'm gonna go look at the wall like the Blair Witch
I'm in a
Project.
Sandler phase.
Response to that.
I'm
I
in a
know you
Sandler
are.
phase, and that's the one I put
how
off
is that
revisiting.
one? The Payne and Taylor.
Great.
Because I remember it just tries to have its cake and eat it too at
Yeah.
the end, and you're kind of like, I don't buy it.
There are scenes that I was genuinely a little surprised by where I was like, huh, that's kind of well done.
Sure.
And then a lot of it is exactly what you think that
I'm-
movie would be in 2007.
I'm not interested in that one.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Did Payne and Taylor write it? Or
they
have
wrote
a
it,
credit
and then it
on
was Sandlerized.
Right.
But the
Their script is called Flamers.
Oh my!
Wait, was it really?
Yeah, because they're
Oh,
firemen.
the Sandler script?
No, the Payne
Payne
Taylor script is called Flamers.
Because it's like based on a true story in some way, right?
No.
Or whatever.
No,
Based on a news
it's based on
report
true
they saw.
friendship. No, it's not.
Oh
I think
my
it's
God.
based on thought experiments.
Anyway,
It's based on things that Republican congressmen say to strike fear into
At
Fox
bars.
News watchers. Yeah.
What if you had to marry your friend,
Yeah.
though?
Right. This fucking Kevin James guy.
For
right?
health insurance.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And then I'm paying for it?
I can't believe I was about to speak about homophobia and you went on a now pronounce you Chuck and
A
Larry
movie
detour.
about homophobia. All these firemen turn against it.
Ben, you can just sort of like highlight the section and we can evaluate it later, you know?
Kevin James gives a very touching monologue where he says, when Chuck bailed you out after you lost all your money at Atlantic City, that check he wrote you, that check wasn't too gay for you, was it?
Isn't there also Rob Schneider and Yellow?
Occasionally we get new listeners when we do new movies.
Yes.
Occasionally.
Yes.
Sorry, we don't do this all the time.
Oh, we do it all the time.
You're
what
right.
are you talking
Fuck,
about?
I tried.
David,
Yes.
do you remember those New Year's goals you promised yourself you'd stick to like a fool?
Yeah, and here I am eating pepperoni pizza.
David,
Like a-
don't
like
do
a-
it.
Chump. No, I know.
HelloFresh is here to help you eat better by delivering fresh ingredients and easy recipes right to your door, taking the hassle out of dinner time.
I know, because you can skip that trip to the grocery store,
Skip
the
it.
long checkout lines.
Ugh.
You can spend more time doing the things you love with delicious chef-crafted recipes delivered to your doorsteps. They've got 40 weekly recipes to choose from. So you don't even have to, eat the same stuff week after week. There's all kinds of variety on it. And they can match to any meal preference, gluten-free or vegan or, you want to be family friendly, anything like that,
David, there are few things in this world I love more than doing the things I love. And if HelloFresh can provide that, along with making my body feel less like it's being attacked,
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good deal.
I agree. And I do really like some of the stuff they've got. Here's some good recipes they have right now. Falafel power bowls. I love a falafel.
I love falafel power.
Seared steak and potatoes with Bernier sauce. I mean, that is a winner, obviously. That's a home run. Southwest pork and bean burritos. They look really good.
Do you think America will ever switch over to falafel power being our primary energy source? Or do you think...
I hope so. It's long overdue, in my opinion.
I think it would make things a lot easier. You're only going to find quality ingredients in HelloFresh's recipes. In fact, ingredients travel from the farm to your home in less than 7 days, so you know they're fresh. And David,
Yeah.
people might remember, they used to, Green Chef used to sponsor this show. No, now HelloFresh is sponsoring the show. Well, which side am I supposed to take? Hey, guess what? Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh. And with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. I personally love switching between the brands because I'm verse, and now my listeners can enjoy both brands at a discount with me,
Okay.
Griffin.
Well, listen, I'm going to do a call to action in response
Please.
to that, which is
You must.
go to hellofresh.com/check65 and use code check65 for 65% off plus free shipping. hellofresh.com/check65, code check65, 65% off plus free shipping. It's America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh.
You rarely hear 65% off.
Well, it's a lot.
It is.
Yeah, no, but of course, Ben Aldridge's character Andrew has a more
Yes.
negative view of like society and
Right.
like literally
And-
just
but
the pain
also,
of being
I
alive.
Bit of a
think-
Griffin.
Like,
But the
although
I
you would
think
never own a gun.
the film does.
I would never own a gun.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank
the,
you.
the film, I think, does make that his viewpoint feel valid, even
Yes,
though it
absolutely.
chooses the other viewpoint.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I
which
like.
is
They make it clear he's a human rights lawyer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, I do a noble thing. My life is committed. Jesus, where did that come from? Committed to trying to fight against atrocities in the world.
right,
That is why I have a lower opinion of the world.
right.
I am not some cynical jagoff who sits back and
I'm
complains about
not
everything.
just some kind of whatever
Right.
cabin dwelling,
It's like
happy guy.
I'm in the
Yeah.
shit trying to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
it
yeah.
better every day,
Totally.
which means I'm so much more exposed to how awful things are than you. It is hard for me to maintain any optimism.
Right.
And then Jonathan Groff's character has come from a religious background that he clearly is fighting to different degrees.
So, a little aside,
Yes.
an interesting fact is both the actors, Jonathan Groff and Ben Aldridge, are gay men who were raised
Yes.
in very strict religious
Groff
backgrounds. Groff
Amish?
was Mennonite,
Mennonite. Yes.
and
sorry.
Aldridge, some form of like UK.
Yeah, he's like a British
evangelicals.
evangelical Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I am.
Although he's very clear, like, I am not religious
Right.
in any way. And I think his parents aren't either. Whereas I think Groff's family, I would assume, is still religious.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
sure.
his mom is not Mennonite. His
father
father's
is,
Mennonite,
right.
and
His mom is a Methodist and he
right.
was raised in the Methodist faith.
right. But I am the daughter of a gay man who goes to church every Sunday,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it is a thing that I constantly push back on.
Not
Sure.
only who goes to church every Sunday, but who was annoyed at you for saying that you weren't that Catholic
Right.
on the
When
Benedetta
the Benedetta-
episode.
yes, And I was like, well, I mean,
So annoyed at you that he complained to me.
Yes,
He's
yes.
supposed to keep you in line on your
sorry,
public
Dad.
expressions.
Sorry,
we
no,
can
but-
cut that out again.
No,
I'm
you can leave that
sorry.
Keep it in Dublin.
But it is, I think, a question that a lot of, queer people struggle with,
Right.
who want
Certainly if they were, especially if they were
raised in a religion that does not accept their identity.
Yeah.
What is your relationship to faith?
The new it's now been on for what, fucking 8 years, but the Netflix Queer Eye, there's an episode in the first season that I think about a lot where Bobby was raised like very religious and knew he was gay very young and was
Mhm.
constantly hearing basically his internal identity that he was too afraid to verbalize to anyone be demonized. And it's like, once I was old enough that I was out from under my parents' roof, I was never stepping foot into a church ever fucking again. And then they work with someone in one of the episodes who's like part of a church group.
Yeah.
And he just has this firm line of like, I'm not walking into the building. I'm not doing this. And he's sort of dealing with this woman who's like, that is not the way we run our church. That is not what we believe.
Sure,
We would
right,
accept
right.
you,
We're
all of
different,
this.
right,
And he's
right.
just like, you have to understand like my oppositional resistance to this entire institution. I think it's a tough thing, but then yes, you also you have people like your father where it's those things are sort of
So it's
able to coexist.
contradictory. But I think
Yes.
it's the idea of having the sacrifice at the end.
yeah.
Groff choosing to be the sacrificial
The
lamb.
lamb.
Well, it's a very Christ-like scenario.
Yes.
I mean, and I think it is quietly radical to have a queer person take on this role in the film.
I agree. There's an interesting aspect to this. Bautista says maybe their love is quote unquote more pure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And there is that kind of like, I feel it, and I don't want to tell M. Night Shyamalan what he thinks.
Right.
But I get the vibe from him where he's just like, I mean, they worked harder to be in a relationship than I ever did.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's harder to be gay. The
There's
slightly
the little things.
patronizing, well-meaning,
Right.
slightly kind of like, maybe there's just something more
Maybe
powerful
they take less
about
for
their bond.
granted.
Blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
Right. I mean,
you
we
know,
get-
and then how hard it would be for them to have a child.
We get
Right.
these little flashbacks, and there's the one where they go overseas to China to adopt their soon to
And
be
it's so
daughter.
quietly devastating
Right,
when they
there's that-
address them because
tiny moment where they go like Mr. and Mrs. Brooks, and he goes, I'm Mr. Brooks. My wife couldn't be here today. This
Yeah.
is her brother. And it's like, oh, this little tiny lie they have to make in order for both of them to be able to meet the child at the same time is, it's upsetting. And I guess that's the central counter tension of this movie, right? That their immediate reaction to this is a hate crime. That we are being persecuted because we are gay. They go from being, are these people insane, to is this some sort of con, to this is a targeted attack. And sort of their internal narrative is built of the Rupert Grint character. He pieces together as a man who attacked him
Right.
in a
So
clear act of,
this was an issue. I had an issue with this.
Yeah.
I talked about it after we left the movie, where let's say we're looking for tension. Is the apocalypse really happening?
sure.
And let's say we're not getting it from the news report aspect. We believe that
Yeah.
that's real. So then they try and introduce this. Well, maybe this was formulated on a message board because Rupert Grint, like 10 years ago, gay bashed Daddy Andrew
He hit
in a
Ben
bar in
Aldridge
Boston.
over the head with a beer bottle.
Right.
Yeah.
In what was clearly a homophobia
Yeah.
motivated.
Fueled,
Right.
like, drunken attack. Yes.
Right. And he served time
Boston.
in jail for
Classic. Did
that.
you notice that we were served a pre-roll of Boston tourism ads before the movie?
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
I mean, like, ooh.
Ooh.
Grint served time in prison. When he
yes.
shows up
Yeah.
at the house, he's given a fake name to them,
Yes.
to even his cohorts.
Yeah.
So Aldridge very quickly thinks he radicalized these people
Right.
online to
He
get
took
revenge on
vague
me.
dreams and he's
Right.
been messing with it.
Right,
and- yeah,
Batista's a bartender.
Right,
You could
so
connect these
yeah.
people very quickly.
And
Yeah.
also the Sabrina, Nikki
Anuka Bird.
The nurse
Bird
character
is
yeah.
a nurse, and in the flashback of the bar situation,
The
he ends
aftermath,
up having
yeah.
to get stitches.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm like, is this all like a manifestation of his fears of being like like
Sure.
gay bashed again. Like I was like,
Right.
what is is that what this movie is going to
it
be
about
And
trauma?
yeah,
Well,
it is about, but it's about.
trauma.
Yeah.
It isn't really about.
But I think it's
trauma.
more like it's like you can see things everywhere if
Right.
you want to look
Mhm.
for them, right? And that's sort of what Andrew's saying is like, look, the world might be bad, but like, the world's just bad. That doesn't mean it's about to end.
Well,
That
and
doesn't
that's
mean
the
us killing each
fucking
other's gonna
internet
help
now is
anything.
anyone can find any pattern they want
Right.
in anything and
Right.
use it as proof that this is happening
This
or
is
will
why
happen.
This is an interesting and devastating contemporary parable by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
And
B
so
plus 8 out of 10.
so much of the film is about choices.
Yes.
You have a choice.
Right.
And you can choose to see the world as worth saving.
Right.
and
Or
you
not.
Or not.
But the thing about the choice in the book that kind of drives me crazy, and in the movie too, is like the idea of just like, well, we'll just face the apocalypse and we'll at least be together. And I'm like, together? What do you mean? A plane's going to land on you in 5 minutes. Like, come on. You're not going to be together. The world's going to end.
Yeah, but that's their point is you basically already ended the world for us.
Right.
What more is there to live for? At least we can die on our own terms.
Yeah, but then everyone else is going to die.
Okay, who gives a shit? People suck.
Yeah. How can you
Bad.
love your neighbor if
Right.
your neighbor hates you?
I understand
Jesus
that
said,
being
"Love
their
thy neighbor
worldview
as
after this has
thyself."
happened to them.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
But,
You
there's
feel-
billions of people on the planet.
I would
but,
hope you'd feel some empathy
Yeah,
of learning that hundreds of thousands of people have just
billions
died.
of people are going to die,
Yeah.
including
Right.
children. and,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you would feel that.
Yeah.
Just like you feel the violence of watching someone be murdered in front of you.
Right.
Well,
I really found the violence and just the messaging of the violence, and it's just like I know this movie has this whole exercise and trying to really say like a lot, and they have
Right.
these big ideas, but like the violence to me,
You're like, why aren't they so traumatized beyond belief after the
Yes.
first incident of death in front of
Mhm.
them?
100%,
Right.
100%, violence and pain are some of the worst things
Right. Totally.
in life.
yeah, let's clearly come out anti-real world violence on
Yes.
Blank Check with Griffin and David.
Sure.
Not fans.
Against it,
Yeah, bad.
avoid it at all
because
costs.
a thing we've
And
sort
pain
of mentioned, but
sucks
like
to live through.
after they present this choice, they're like, "Will you kill one of you?"
Sure.
And the family's like, "What? No, of course not." They like put a sock over Rupert Grint's head and like hit him in the head. You
Right.
barely see any violence in this
Yeah.
film. Ben. It's almost all not
But
shown.
it's so gritty and realistic.
Sure.
It
Well,
But there's
feels-
something
backs in
just
the head,
so
yeah.
what's
you
the
can fill in
banal?
the blanks.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
made their own weapons.
Yeah.
They were told to make their weapons in this specific way.
if
in
you're
their
trying
vision.
to like present a crazy idea
Uh-huh.
to like these people, maybe not with the weapons like right in hand.
Right.
Maybe keep those off to the side, keep them in a bag.
But this is the whole, I mean, and that face Bautista makes right at the beginning of the movie when he meets Wen, and
Mhm.
she's like, "I have two daddies," and he goes like, and you can tell that
This is
he's-
going to look bad for us.
yeah. And beyond that they are going to have the reasonable reaction of like, you are specifically targeting us.
For sure.
This isn't some fucking Twilight Zone episode. You guys are just a bunch of homophobic, violent people.
Mm-hmm.
And Bautista has to be like, I swear to God, didn't know you were nothing. He's doing the Seinfeld thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that. This is totally unrelated. I
Sure.
had visions of planes falling from the sky.
Yeah,
I didn't know you were gay. It's my own thing. He says it in this tone of voice.
he does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Emma leaned over to me and said he just realized he's going to have to do a hate crime.
Mhm.
Like essentially, it's sort of like that extra realization that for whatever reason, within the bounds of this strange story,
Sure.
they didn't know who these people were going to be.
How would you convince people
Of this,
to
I wouldn't
to do
be
it.
able to.
Ben?
I'd pass him a fat ass bone,
Okay.
big old spleef, and we'd smoke. And then I'd be like, all right.
But
man.
they're not of sane mind. They have to be. That's why him getting the concussion, he had to recover from it. They have to be like, they have to clearly choose.
You have to. There has to be like intention.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm stumped.
Can I roll back to just talk about the essential difference between what the book ends up being and what the movie ends up being? Right.
Yeah.
With the full acknowledgement, the four of us have only read the Wikipedia entry. for the book.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And some people like the book a lot, although other people have told me they really didn't like the book.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is the thing I find most interesting about the movie, though, and it gets to why I'm in such a like absolutist. Like, I would tell them to go fuck off and just face whatever comes with my partner.
Right.
Right? Is that I know you're talking about trying to appeal to my sense of empathy of would you actually want all those people to die just to stubbornly prove a point or to be vindictive against these people who caused you this much pain, right? Or because you feel so numb inside that like, why does it fucking matter anymore? There's the other element of this we're not discussing, which is if they are correct and the apocalypse is about to happen, if you just walk off into the sunset with your partner and go, people be damned, that is the deliberate act of a vengeful God. It is not like, oh, there's an existential, there's an environmental disaster that somehow you have the ability to stop that might be random, right?
But this is the thing about religion.
Exactly.
There's something inexplicable that
but
you
I
have
think
to
in
accept.
reading stuff about the book, that's what people say is interesting about the ending is they're basically like, if you're telling me that this is what we need to do in order to appease God to stop this from happening, and God has already taken our daughter, and that's not good enough for him, then fuck God. This whole thing, it sucks. It is the thing I find most interesting about this movie is the way so many M. Night Shyamalan movies are hinged on not even the twist ending as much as what is his thematic concern? What is the thing he's dealing with? Something like Signs where you're like, crop circles. Could it be aliens? Is he actually making an alien movie? Is Unbreakable actually going to be a movie about what if superheroes are real, right? He'll make these movies where it takes a concept that we're used to in genre fiction, pulpier concepts, and bring them down to a more terrestrial level, character-based, and sort of how would real people, quote unquote, deal with this, right? And this is his one movie for how much his body of work deals with faith. This is his one movie where that central question is basically, what if God was real? And what if the proof you had of it was terrifying? You know?
Yeah.
If you take this movie at face value, it's like, and God is deciding that all planes fall from the sky at the same time that tsunamis are happening, at the same time that a pandemic starts evolving at extraordinary speed.
So it's like the story of when one of the guys had to kill his whole family to appease God, which to me is like an awful story.
The binding of Isaac is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Isaac?
Yeah.
Okay.
God said to Abraham, kill me a son.
I've never been to church. I don't know anything about the Bible or organized
But you know
religion.
Bob Dylan.
I do
God
know Bob
said to
Dylan.
Abraham, bring me a son.
Oh shit! Is that what that's from?
That's from the Old Testament, my
Damn,
friend.
down on Highway 61.
Bob Dylan. No, God says to Abraham, like, all right, you believe in me, right? And Abraham's like, yeah, you're God. And God's like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it. You know your only son, Isaac, who your wife had when she was like 100 years old, thanks to me? He's like, yeah. And he's like, top of the mountain, dead by morning, please. And Abraham does it.
Yes.
And when he's about to kill Isaac, God's like, all right.
It was a test.
It was
just
a test.
kidding.
Good job.
You passed.
This
now
movie,
live the rest of your life normally.
this movie coming from an outsider who then went to Catholic school and was indoctrinated with all the stories of the Bible for years and years and years of his life, studying them closely, right? And using them to build up his own sense of narratives, right? And how stories are told and all of that. Here, this movie, you present the log line of this film to anyone. 4 strangers show up in a cabin, hold parents and their young child hostage, and say the world's going to end unless you make a terrible choice, sacrifice, whatever.
It's like you said, it's like a trolley pop.
Right, you're like, oh, what a great classic horror movie thriller setup, cabin in the woods. But then if you actually take it at face value, you're like, no, it's like any of these Bible stories that are terrifying, where God's voice comes down and he's like, here's the deal. I'm going to flood fucking everyone. Everyone's gone. Pick animals and say goodbye to everyone else you know. Why? Because they suck. Fuck them.
And you close the
Kill
book and
your
you're
own
like,
children. You know
what am I supposed to take away from that? And you go to like, and look, there are theologians.
Bible stories are terrifying.
Well, especially Old Testament ones. And you go to like theologians and they have all kinds of interesting readings on them. And there are people who can give you informed sort of takes on like, here's what was going on at the time when these things were written, that kind of stuff. But the binding of Isaac, it is kind of, it's like, we're trying to define how faith is, baby.
Yeah.
It's something like irrational and insane. Like,
and it's like mafia rules. It's like leading through fear.
And so this is so.
I can make an example of you. Is what
Naiman
God's saying through a fucking bush.
Has a profile of Shyamalan that's in the New Yorker.
I read it on my way
which is
here.
worth reading. And at one point, Shyamalan says that he thinks you could take his ending. You know, I don't think they spoil the ending in the story, but like you could take his ending as darker. And I know what he means because like his ending essentially confirms, yes, there is some sort of unknowable force and he is appeased by human sacrifice.
That sucks.
Right. That does suck.
No, I agree. It's dark as hell.
Right. It's dark. But then, of course, there is also this sort of like weird Shyamalan-y flip side where he's like, but humans are kind of magic and love is kind of transcendent. And that is some sort of like force that like balances that. Which is so wild.
Yeah.
It's wild stuff.
I know you're sort of recently, you're viewing films differently, as many people do when they become a parent.
I found this film so hard to watch.
Right?
Yes.
But new films hit you differently. Rewatching old films hit you differently.
Although I weirdly knew the kid was not at risk. There's just kind of that thing in you're like, there's no way.
But
there's no way
I love how flat, like whenever something bad's about to happen, they're like,
out of the room.
go away.
Yeah.
Cover your ears.
Let's also say good kid. Shyamalan's always good with kids.
He's good with kids.
Yeah.
Outside of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
We don't talk about that.
But your review is your review for The Link, which is very good, was mostly about him making these movies. He seems to be very hung up, Knight, on how do you bring children into a world? How do you keep them safe?
Right.
Is this a
world
moral
that feels
act?
so hostile and like out of control? Old is so much about that.
Absolutely.
Obviously. He talks about that in the profile. I don't know. Have you read it?
Yes, I have.
Says these are my fears. I got married when I was 22. I have 3 girls. We're incredibly close. My parents are nearby. My sister is nearby. Our family is incredibly tight. Like it's clearly like, like that's what he.
But all I'm saying is, I think it's interesting that he got married young. He had kids young. Right. His daughters are like young adults now. They are like in their 20s. I think the youngest is in her late teens. Like he's grappling with stuff not as a new parent, but as someone who's rapidly becoming an empty nester.
Yeah.
That feel like new parent concerns. That is interesting to me. And I even think so much of Glass ends up being so much still about Elijah's mother.
It does. That stuff's so interesting in that movie.
Yeah.
That movie. I should rewatch that movie. And I liked it.
It's a Glass piece. The Visit is obviously a weird movie about parenting.
Yeah. You know what else The Visit is?
Bug nuts.
Insane.
Bug nuts.
I think Adam Naiman said it was his best movie.
Did he?
In that profile. It was either him or in Bilge's thing.
It's a dang good one.
Well, Bilge's best thing
Bilge says this is the best since The Village. I think Old is his best movie since The Village. I think The Village is his best movie.
I put Old top 3.
Old is
I forget how we ranked.
I have it 4th.
Yeah.
Because I do have Unbreakable and Sixth Sense over. Sixth Sense is just so magic.
See, I put Village below.
Right, you don't like The Village.
I do Unbreakable, Sixth Sense, Old, Village.
Village is another movie that just feels so related to this, though. So I think, I think that's where Bilge is coming from, because it's also a movie about that's a movie about people who are like, I cannot deal with contemporary society. It is too depressing.
Yeah.
Let's live in a village.
Yes,
and the consequences of that, are what the movie's about. But it came out after 9/11, and it just so profoundly is like a post 9/11 movie.
Yeah, it's just funny to me that the parental fears feel more front and center now in his career at a point. And he's also talked so much about the era where he felt like he lost his way a little bit as a director. He was like, the more I became a dad and I had young daughters and I was surrounded by kids, the less I wanted to make aggressively scary movies. And
he has that middle period where he's like making stuff like The Last Airbender or Lady in the Water.
After Earth. Right.
After Earth.
Yeah. Even Happening feeling a little hollow despite it being like, he's going to go hard.
This movie feels like a better Happening to me as well.
I agree with that.
Like there's sort of like the Earth is turning hostile to us in ways we can't understand.
But this is also my problem with the news broadcast is the news broadcast feels so Happening to me that it's just like that skews.
I want to be clear.
I don't want to.
I kind of agree with you. The news broadcasts make your teeth hurt a little bit. They could be a little better made.
Yes,
you have to have them in some form.
You need some recognition,
but
for the
maybe you
world.
just. But I mean, look.
Yeah.
It's M. Night Shyamalan.
It's M. Night.
There's the whole thing with him. His movies are so sincere. The dialogue is so sincere. It's true in this movie.
Yes.
And if it goes wrong, it's a disaster. If a Mark Wahlberg, God bless him, is handed that dialogue, it just comes out.
I'm gonna have to make a tough decision here today.
It comes out in this way
Someone's
that's just like you're like no one has ever spoken this way.
I'm a defender of The Happening.
Okay.
Because I think some of
because you side with the trees.
Yeah.
I think some of the set pieces in that movie are extraordinary.
There are some chilling
the opening in
moments in The Happening. There's no question.
And I don't think there are any set pieces in Knock at the Cabin.
No, there's not. It's totally different thing.
I was hungry. Old felt like a visual feast for me.
Yeah. Old.
He was doing a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, the lady going all broken bones.
He's got a lot of interesting oneers. I think that Knock at the Cabin started interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I love the opening scene.
Yeah.
How the camera, we just get
Insane close-ups.
we get closer and closer on David Bautista,
Yeah.
and I think her name's Kristen Chu.
Her name is Kristen Cui. I don't know how you pronounce it.
All right.
Cui. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
don't
the
matter.
angle, the
canted angles.
every
I
time
mean,
they cut back and forth between
that
them,
stuff
it's getting,
that stuff was incredible. The Rupert Grint
Putting the cameras on Grint when he's getting beaten
that was
up.
cool.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of.
What about the when the camera like
as he's
locks
swinging
90
back.
degrees?
I thought that was cool.
But,
Yeah.
That's kind of
that's
an
kind
upgrade
of it.
mode. Is that what that movie called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that doesn't give me any more of those moments.
Well, it's got a
Marie-
lot of those close-ups throughout the film.
Do you want to talk a little T of what we were talking about yesterday? Because you made some interesting revelations.
So there are 2 credited cinematographers on this film.
Yep.
And I think Knight is publicly saying that it was a scheduling conflict
Sure.
situation, and my secret source has told me that it is not.
It was
Right.
creative differences,
Yes.
a fairly contentious split.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it Jaron Blasch who got fired?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so Jaron Blaschke, I believe is his name,
Mhm.
is Robert Eggers' cinematographer.
Correct.
He shot all his movies.
Yes.
And then the other guy credited is a guy who works on Servant.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing Marie was saying yesterday is that it also sounds like perhaps this movie was shot in chronological order,
So
because this is a film
the
that would
cabin-
be easy enough to
And
The
shoot.
he
cabins-
likes to do that.
Yeah,
The cabin sequences were mostly shot in chronological order.
sure.
Well, sure. Then there's
Yeah.
the flashbacks
Yeah.
and stuff.
But it definitely felt like the movie lost some juice.
The most interesting stuff
Visually.
cinematically is all happening in the first
Yeah.
20
That
or 30
makes-
minutes of the movie.
Sure, I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if what we're seeing on the screen is like a choice or it is the product of a difficult production that the movie feels that way. But
Can we do some Batista digging?
I love how his glasses fit on his. Anytime he
Good
wears glasses in a
glasses.
movie,
Which is
oh,
often.
Yeah.
I know.
He's usually wearing glasses of some sort, and
Yeah.
they always work.
They always were. They felt so tight around his head. His little shirt.
His top of his head. It looks like you can
yeah,
see his brain.
Yes,
I
it looks like the
love-
wrinkles of the brain.
I love
Ugh.
when guys have
Whew.
that. There's
Yeah.
a guy I used to work with named Datu who had like brain wrinkles. And I would just, when I would zone out at work, I'd just stare at the back of his head.
Everything about him is just so physically
He is.
compelling.
Yes, he is a visually compelling figure
Yes.
before he even starts talking.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then his way of delivering dialogue is also just incredibly compelling.
yes.
I mentioned this in my review. He played a very sincere character in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Mhm.
Drax.
Mhm.
He's playing a similarly sincere character here in a
Mhm.
wildly different style.
Yes.
Obviously, he's very good at sincerity,
Yes.
which is good for Shyamalan.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's like a very emotionally open actor.
And Shyamalan has a tendency to often go, "Who is the biggest star right now?" Like
that I can get, or who's like
Right.
a very interesting, fairly new on the scene
but
guy.
but also,
Yeah.
I mean, he made movies with Willis, Gibson, Will Smith,
Mhm.
all at their career peaks.
Those guys were
Wahlberg,
huge,
You know,
sure.
like big
Wahlberg,
A-list men.
to an extent, is Wahlberg, is that post Departed? when The Happening
it's
comes out?
right after.
It's
I want
08.
to say
Yeah,
it's the
2 years after.
immediate
2 years-
follow-up
Yeah.
to the
Well,
novel.
it's-
Two
it's
years.
2 years after.
Sure.
Right.
But maybe the first movie he signs up for after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Batista's kind of an outside the box leading man for him.
In some ways, I mean, I think more recently it's more because it's like McAvoy,
Sure.
Gail Garcia Bernal, and Vicky
That
Krieps,
movie's so
like,
ensemble-y though too.
but I'm saying
Yeah,
like he's
yes.
more picking,
Yes.
interesting, well liked critically,
He's also he's so fancy.
cheaper-
He doesn't want to pay people with big quotes.
cheaper actors,
Yeah.
but like
Good
not cheap
actors.
in like a bad way.
No,
like
no.
the thing with Batista, I interviewed Ryan Johnson.
Yes.
Where's my applause?
Oh.
Thank you. No, I
And
interviewed Ryan.
has your check arrived in the mail yet?
he just handed it to me.
Yeah, sure.
He just gave it to
Yeah.
me. No, I
Thank
interviewed
you for
Ryan
saying all the
Johnson
nice things about a movie you couldn't possibly like.
about Glass Onion.
Sure.
And one of the questions I asked was like, well, first I asked, like, are you writing for actors? And he's like, I don't do that because you're going to disappoint yourself.
Uh-huh.
Right. Like If you write with an actor in
Yeah.
mind, then you can't get him. It's going to ruin it. And then I said, like, who did you cast who you didn't expect or whatever?
Mhm.
And he said Bautista.
Yeah.
But
Because
who else would have played?
he wrote
that
that
role?
part entirely differently. That part was
Oh.
supposed to be a
That's
right.
skinny men's rights.
Basically,
dork.
he should have been Jordan
Ah.
Peterson, and
Right.
and as I've heard him basically say, like the idea of the guy being that physically dominant went against my entire initial
Right.
conception
That
of the
wasn't
character
my
being
idea.
kind of a wimp.
And he said that his casting person, I
Yeah.
forget her name, was the one who suggested Bautista. And then he was just like, Paul Thomas Anderson is someone who's going to use that guy.
Yeah.
And make everyone else look like an idiot. He's
Yeah.
like the most interesting actor
Yes.
around right now.
Yes,
And I was like, I said like he's the best wrestler to actor ever. And
Yeah.
he
it's
was
not
like,
even
"He is."
comparison.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not. And look, there are other acting wrestlers I like a lot.
Yeah.
But Batista, both in how he is structuring his career, who he's working with,
And
how
his
he's testing
range.
himself. Yeah. And it feels like he's finding some internal
I mean, how many
conflict
wrestler
in all of
actors
his castings.
could do Stuber? I mean,
This is here's the thing I find really interesting.
that's rare.
Wait, so his name is Stu and he drives an Uber?
Get out of here.
Yeah.
You'll never finance this film.
David's best review headline of all time.
What was that?
I give Stuber 5 stars, parentheses out of 10.
That seems generous.
It's a 5.
It's all right.
It's a 5. Hey, look,
I haven't seen it.
we didn't know how lucky we were getting 3 studio comedies a year in theaters just 4 short years ago. Stuber, apparently the last golden age. This is what I was going to say. Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously his big breakout, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That role ends up being more of a comedic role. He's, a thing I love about the guy is he does not mince words. He speaks very openly and honestly in every single
sometimes
interview.
in a way where you're like, Dave.
Dave, watch your
Like-
career a little bit. But I have to love how much this guy is not playing any optics game,
Yeah.
right? He's not trying to get his Q score higher or play nice with the studios or whatever. And he's basically like, Drax is a pretty tragic character on the page. I was drawn to that.
Right.
The more I showed myself being good at the comedy, the more everyone started leaning into the comedy, and it now feels like the character has mostly become a comedic character. And that's a little sad to me. I feel like there were a lot of dramatic sides of this guy I never got to play, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, well, fuck, this guy just proved himself. What's he going to do now with his career? He doesn't really go and do a bunch of action movies. He weirdly does like a couple direct-to-video, like Kickboxer 3
Yeah, he's
and
done a
Escape
few of
Plan
those.
2,
Sure.
right?
Kickboxer Vengeance.
But he doesn't immediately go and get his own Europa Corp movie. He doesn't do his own Screen Gems January revenge thriller or whatever, right? Then he's like, okay, I could do a couple comedies. He does My Spy and Stuber. Both of them, you're like, this guy there should be a better playing against type comedy for Batista than what we're giving him.
He's pretty good in Hotel Artemis.
He's very good in that, but this is the thing. Off to the side, he's like, here's my supporting character actor
Right.
career.
Right.
What are interesting scripts? What are parts that play against my type? Who are directors I want to work with?
Blade Runner.
Right.
That. Stuber, obviously.
At a
Let's
time
not
when-
bring up Stuber.
Obviously, The Rock and John Cena are so algorithmic
Right.
in the moves of you need one of these for your portfolio and one of these and one of those and
And
whatever.
you have to win every fight. And you better always be
Yeah.
the hero. And you better be so macho.
He also, even though he is huge,
Yeah.
I don't know why he just doesn't have that problem of like, well, this is the largest man in the world. Like you're not real. You're not a real person.
Marie was talking about his use of glasses in different movies, right?
Yeah.
And he is a really good glasses actor. He's got his tiny little glasses in Blade Runner, right? In Army of the Dead, a movie he is really, really good in, and
I've
a
not
movie
seen
you
that.
wish was kind of at his level.
Sure.
That's his most conventional like action movie badass role, right? And he is as soft spoken in that movie as he is in this, and he does the entire film wearing glasses with like an old person chain around them,
Mhm.
around his neck, so they stay on his head and everything, right?
Yeah.
And-
He doesn't take up space.
No,
Like he's so compact. Like the way that he holds his body, the way that
like
he
he's
moves
Yeah.
is
embarrassed
so
to be
small.
He
Right.
doesn't want
Yeah.
to be taking up people's space. But it was maybe our friend Mike Ryan maybe did this interview with him.
Mike Ryan definitely did an interview.
He did a
with him,
new
yeah.
one, but I'm trying to remember around when Army of the Dead came out. And they asked about the glasses thing and what unconventional choice that was for the lead in an action movie. And he basically said, like, I look like a silverback gorilla. Like, I just have insane proportions and I know how extreme I look on screen and I'm covered in tattoos and I have this really deep voice. And I think a lot of other guys like me are constantly doing the math on how to look tougher on screen. And I think it's so much more interesting to find things I can do visually that cut me down to size,
Right.
that play against it. Like, I want to find ways to normalize myself. And he said when he met with Shyamalan, this was in the Mike Ryan interview, he met with Shyamalan right after he finished filming Guardians 3.
This is in the micro. Yeah, it's really interesting. Where he's like, I'm going to be huge.
Drax is like, he's like, that's
I'm
the
in
biggest
Drax
I ever
mode.
get.
Right.
And he comes to him in Drax mode, and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm so big, I can cut it down. And Shyamalan said, can you get bigger?
Right.
And he said, like, it's easy for me to get bigger.
Yeah, I just eat a lot of food and like lift a lot of
Are
weight.
you sure you want this? And he's like, I want to push you to even more extremes. I want you to go quieter in performance than you've ever been. I want you to be the biggest you've ever been on screen.
Wow. Well, he looks big.
Yeah.
But he's got his nice little button up tucked in.
Yeah.
He looks like a nice parole officer
He does.
or a nice school teacher.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
you
he
buy
fits the
him
part.
as a
Yes.
school teacher, even though are second grade teachers allowed to have tattoos? Like
Well,
a lot of
depends-
visible ones?
Depends on the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know his thing where people ask him like how many tattoos he has, and he's like 3. And they're like, what? And he's like, because they're like all connected.
Right. It's
Basically, there's like left,
one,
right,
two.
back. Yeah.
I remember walking out of Guardians
Mhm.
and kind of being like, low key, the best one was
I remember
Bautista.
you saying
Yeah, I
that
said
to
that to
me.
you.
will not believe this,
I
but Dave
was-
Bautista's the best.
Because
in it.
everyone was so excited about pretty much everyone in that movie
Yeah.
but him,
Yeah.
because he was just sort of like it's a wrestler.
When he was
playing a big
announced,
muscly
I think
alien,
it was
fine.
everyone saying like, "Oh, really? They couldn't get Momoa?" Like,
yeah,
there was
right.
this
They couldn't get
feeling
someone a
of-
little cooler than
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And then I walked out and I was like, he's very funny. He has like 12 good lines. Like, it's not
Yeah.
just like a couple jokes. Like, he's kind of hits a layup or hits a 3-pointer like every 10 minutes in that movie,
Yeah,
right?
he
You
also
know?
just the whole press tour for this movie keeps on saying these things that are so endearing about like that Lee Pace quote that when he went to audition for Guardians and the casting director told him they had just cast Lee Pace as the villain,
Right.
and she went, "Do you know Lee?" And he said no, and he went, "That guy's incredible. He can do anything." And he was like, in that moment, I crystallized that's the career I want.
I want to
He
be
wants
I
to be
want
spoken
Lee
people to
about
Pace.
say that
way.
about me.
Yeah.
I want, and I feel like I play so specifically on screen, but I would like to prove myself to a point where people say, Dave Bautista, he can do anything.
I think Lee Pace is really good in Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's just
Lovely
cool
Pace.
that he did that.
No, I love that too. Yeah.
Recently he was quoted as saying that he wants to be cast in romantic comedies,
But
and
no one-
is he not cute enough?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they don't really make rom-coms.
No.
But there's a couple coming out this year. There's
Bring 'em
always
back.
the hope for the kind of
Well,
like
who would you cast opposite Batista?
I also feel like
Holly Hunter.
Stuber, he does not have a love interest. Stuber, he's like a single father,
Yeah.
and his partner
It's kind
is
of
dead.
the Rock vibes of like that's often how he gets cast, right? Yeah.
And then My Spy,
Yeah, with the of course he is like in his late 40s.
No, he's like 50 something.
54,
Yeah.
so like there's a little bit of like he can't be playing someone who's like, well, I'm just young and single and hitting the bars. Like
No,
he
it's just
has to have some
He's very protective
backstory.
of his
Right.
daughter in that movie,
Yes.
and he's mourning the death of his female partner. My Spy, I admit I could not make it through. I don't know if they give him perfunctory love.
I'm not gonna fire up My Spy. I'm gonna be honest with you, Dave. Don't hit me. I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to do it. Don't make me watch My Spy.
The most watched film in the history of Amazon or some shit.
Sure.
Anyway. I don't know. It does feel like he doesn't get love interest, and Drax is haunted by his dead wife and children.
Yes. So sure, give him a love interest.
Yeah.
next
Reese
time.
Witherspoon.
Oh,
She's so small.
I
like
want
a-
the Four Christmases poster where she's standing
Yeah.
on top of.
Right. She uses him as some sort
big
of
and
like
Yeah.
soft and
Yeah.
yeah.
I do
Holly
think,
Hunter,
Yeah. Holly Hunt. She's also short.
Sparkplug.
I do think Groff is great. And I have quite enjoyed Groff's career.
You're a
Fan
fan.
of Groff.
I'm a fan of Groff, or you're all fans.
I feel
I'm
like
the
you're
same. Big fan.
particularly
I'm
a
a
fan
big
of
fan of
Groff.
Groff.
Yeah.
I like Groff.
Yeah.
I thought he killed it in Matrix. And in this.
I like it, Groff.
Oh boy.
You sure?
He was good in I saw him on Broadway.
In Hamilton? Spring Awakening?
No. In
Little Shop of Horrors?
yeah.
Playing the Griffin Newman part?
Too
Playing
hunky.
the Griffin.
Too
Newman part.
hunky. I waited for
Um,
Gideon Glick. I said, call me when your Seymour's under 6 feet.
Yeah. Glick fun.
Glick was good.
Theater camp, that's coming out.
Did
this
you
year.
guys watch
Glick's fun in that.
the Spring Awakening, Those We've Known
Yeah.
thing?
I
on
just
HBO?
watched the relevant clips.
Did you watch the footage of Jonathan Groff's Amish Country Sleepover where they bust the entire cast in school buses
did
to
not.
spend a night on Jonathan Groff's family farm in
That
Lancaster,
sounds
Pennsylvania.
fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
Sounds like a good time. He's just such a perfect fit for Shyamalan's thing.
Mhm.
Because there's stuff in this movie that would fall very, very flat in the wrong hands.
No,
I
you're right.
think,
You need
know, the
earnest,
the super
wet-eyed-
earnestness,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And he is good at that without you just sort of feeling whatever, like you're watching an episode of
He,
Glee.
he's one of those guys. Look, and it's something like The Matrix. It's fun to watch him rip into and relish playing the opposite. And certainly Hamilton's the same thing. But Groff is unusually good in a way that few people are at playing uncomplicated people. You know, and there's some inner complications to this guy, but Groff is the rare actor who can sell like, oh, this is just a good person if he needs to.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is sort of crucial to this movie as well, obviously, because like there's only so much time for that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. You do have to kind of quickly be like, I get this guy, I get that guy, you know, like I get everyone.
When they do the flashback to the meeting with the parents, is it Aldridge's parents or
It's
Groff's?
It's
Aldridge's
all just his
parents.
parents.
Okay,
That's,
right.
that's the thing.
Right.
It's contributing to his world.
Yes.
View.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. You have this brief scene where they kind of don't even know how to make small talk,
Right.
meeting his
They've, like,
boyfriend for the first time.
They've essentially driven for hours to come and sit with them quietly.
It's
and
the
then
good
leave.
line of they drove 7 hours to talk for 45 minutes.
And then
Yeah.
you also see, I think the phone rings, and then Groff's like, "That's my parents
Right.
calling
It's-
to see how it
It's
went."
like
Yes.
Groff's mom, who's clearly like more,
Right.
engaged with the family.
Look, this is the fucking like. It's pretty impressive economical screenwriting from Shyamalan.
good movie.
People can, shit on him for all the reasons of taste and tone they want. But a thing that bugs me is when people go like, and how does this guy still not know how to write a screenplay? And I'm like, structurally, the guy's really fucking strong. And he knows how to convey information really quickly and effectively.
Much like how people made fun of that Top Gun screenplay nomination,
Yeah.
and other people justly were sort of like, this is a nomination for like structure and economic storytelling. Like, it's not like
The script is rock solid.
it's an incredible script, and it's,
Yeah.
even though it's written by like 8 people or whatever, like, and it's like, cheesy lines. Sure, okay, good
Yeah.
job. You spotted a cheesy line.
Right, who gives a shit?
Maverick said, "Not today," asshole.
Yeah,
He says
you know
that,
what?
right?
I walked up to the box office and I spent $17 and I said, 1 ticket to Top Gun Maverick, please. I would be disappointed if he didn't say shit like that. What are you complaining about?
I don't
It's
know.
a movie about Maverick.
Do you think there's a line of action in the script that's like Maverick throws the rule book in the trash?
Yes.
Rule book is thrown in the
Yeah.
trash can.
So sick.
You've said this before, David.
It would be funny if he sat down with the rule book and he's like, okay, so rule 1, of course, is don't fly your plane too fast. And rule 2 is always listen to instructions.
Rule 3, throw the rule book in the trash.
Oh, shit.
Everyone's furiously
Rule 3,
scratching
rule
out the
3 is, no, ignore those last 2 rules and all the other rules.
trash. David, you've made this defense before in the past
Okay.
when Shyamalan's getting attacked.
Oh, sure. When Shyamalan's on trial and I rise to my feet, yes.
But I feel like the comparison point I've heard you make before is like no one criticizes Yorgos Lanthimos for his dialogue being as stilted and heightened
doing a
and
thing.
stylized. Right.
Old Yorkie.
Yeah. And you're like, the difference is that people think they're smarter than Shyamalan, and he is trying and failing to write realistic conversational dialogue
Yeah.
rather than accepting that the man has chosen
Yeah.
the thing he wants to do.
Yeah, we can't all be Ed Burns.
No, I mean, look,
Kind of snappy New York repartee.
at any moment in time,
Oh, God, I'm so neurotic.
When are we covering
my
Ed
ear
Burns?
up
We
to
gotta
the
do it.
sidewalk
There's
of
like
New
80
York.
films. Yeah, with the you're listening
Podcasts
to the
of New-
sidewalk.
And I just hear Ed Burns.
I
Podcasts
recently,
of New York, the
Low
Brothers
budge.
McPodcast.
oh, the Brothers McPodcast.
The Brothers McPodcast.
Look, I
When we do
recently,
the Sundance
I have
bracket.
gone dad mode,
Uh-huh.
and I don't mean that.
Now
I
you like all
had a
Ed
kid.
Burns movies.
No, I recently rewatched Saving Private Ryan, and I'm currently watching Band of
Oh,
Brothers.
yeah, you've been
and
watching
Oh,
war shit.
And
I
I've been-
watched Band of Brothers last year. Incredible
So good.
experience.
and I'm reading a lot of Wikipedia articles about battles.
Oh, boy.
Dad, my wife will keep being like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, "I'm reading about Battle of the Bulge." And she's like, "What is the matter with
Recently
you?"
that you've been reading over the last couple of years? You've read a lot of books about
I
presidents.
have read a lot
That's
of books
the
about
most
presidents.
dad shit I've ever heard.
My boys.
Who's your number one?
LBJ.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I read all the Carol.
Jumbo?
Have you been to the library in Austin?
No, I would love to go.
They've got
Let's
an
go.
animatronic LBJ there.
Uh-oh. Does
It's-
he bully you? Does he take his dick out?
Well, no, there is like a standout, like cardboard cutout of him, like leaning
Doing
over,
the-
so
the,
you know,
yes,
to take a picture
the
of
Johnson
yourself with.
treatment.
getting the Johnson treatment.
David?
Yep.
I have one word for you.
What's that?
This word is in bold.
Okay.
And I really want you to think on this word.
Okay.
Curiosity.
Oh. Okay. What am I curious about?
That's the question. When it comes to hiring, David, you need to trust your gut. But what if you could give your gut some help?
Well, sure. Like maybe like a probiotic, right? Like Yakult.
David, I'm speaking metaphorically, but the company I'm about to tell you about is sort of like a probiotic for the figurative gut.
For hiring. Yeah.
Yes. When you want to find top talent fast, you need Indeed.
It's the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You don't have to spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with all the right skills or all the right moves. You can do it all with Indeed. You can find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Indeed's US data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job.
That sounds like that removes waiting from the equation.
Instant Match, for example, this one makes hiring all in one place so easy because candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in search. That's according to US's Indeed data. You can sponsor a post, and as soon as you do, you get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Indeed also does all the hard work for you.
David, why be a loser? You can join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. You want to be left out of that? All the cool businesses are doing it.
All the cool businesses are doing it. And Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/check to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/check, Indeed.com/check. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire, you need Indeed. Fine, I can talk about going dad mode. Although now I can't remember why I was talking about doing.
We're talking-
Ed Burns.
Ed
Eddie
Burns.
Oh, right. And I rewatched Saving Private Ryan, and I was like, it's a real insult that the one who lives is fucking Ed Burns.
You know what's crazy? I rewatched Saving Private Ryan.
Diesel dies. Goldberg, that guy's fun. Tom Hanks, heard of him? That's like war is hell. They're like, not only is war really bad, Ed Burns lives.
You watch your best friends die in your arms, and Ed Burns
also,
lives to make
like-
16 more movies.
Knock at the
And like
cabin.
a TNT
Life isn't
series.
fair.
Life isn't fair.
Life isn't fair.
You know
Bad
what-
things happen.
You know what's crazy?
The deck
Obviously,
gets
like,
stacked against you.
great movies, the great masterpieces, part of the fun is every time you watch them, there's somehow something new that reveals yourself. It reveals themselves to you in the film, you know?
Yeah.
I rewatched Saving Private Ryan as well, David.
Mhm.
I had never picked up on before. Ed Burns' character is from Brooklyn.
What? Are
I'm
you wait? Are
joking,
you
of course.
Sure.
I did not rewatch Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
It's
I
not-
don't.
that's not for you.
That's not a rewatch. I'm
Oh,
no
I've seen
Bill
it so many
Simmons, but that's
times.
not a rewatchable
Yeah, he's from
movie for
Brooklyn.
me.
Is it Brooklyn, New York?
Brooklyn, New York.
I feel like he writes it somewhere on his clothes, maybe.
Hmm.
Really? Because I was watching 4K. I didn't see it
Do we
anywhere.
confirm it's New York though? Because there's other Brooklyns.
Yes.
I'm from Brooklyn in the Netherlands.
Brookline,
Brooklyn.
Massachusetts.
Brooklyn.
I just want to give a shout out to the one actress we haven't really talked about,
Abby Quinn.
Abby Quinn, who plays Adrian.
I don't know her. I mean, she's in.
She's in
Little
Landline?
Women. She's in I'm Thinking of Anything. She's in
She's
Landline.
in,
So I've seen her
Shithouse
in
with
things.
Dylan Jalula,
Yeah.
Yes.
close friend. Not really. We worked together once. She's
Well,
nice.
Dylan's great.
Yeah,
We love
she's
you,
cool.
Dylan. She's probably not listening.
She's not listening, but I thought she was great.
She's
got-
really good.
Yeah.
She's
Got a great face.
Well,
Yeah.
I think he really cast really well with all 4 of the people,
Mhm.
where you very quickly are like, this person seems like not like they believe what they're saying,
Yes.
and also like someone who might be a bit of an odd loner in their life.
Well, he's also sort of doing the Demi thing. It's so many real, extended close up, your face filling the frame, near monologue, and they're basically staring straight down the barrel. And you, as the audience member, are going, can I take this person at face value or not? Do I
Right.
believe what they're saying? I'm looking into their soul. Do I believe what they're saying? I almost once again feel like it is a hindrance to the movie that all 4 of the performances are this good, where I just, from basically their entrance into the house, feel convinced by them.
I see. I don't know. I think that's a strength. I think this is just where we disagree.
But they're all 4
They're
So,
very
I mean, I know you
good.
don't like Grant.
Yeah, I don't like
Right.
Grant.
Yeah.
don't like
I don't like
Grant.
Grant.
Expelliarmus.
Mm.
Ow.
No, you would just drop anything you were holding.
Oh, right.
That's all
Which
that
is
one
the
is?
one
It's
that
disarming.
is
That's just
Crucio the
knocking your
one
books down in the hallway.
Well, usually it's to disarm your
disarm
wand.
the
saying
wand.
face.
Stupefy.
Does
That would
Crucio, is that the one that turns you like it
Crucio
fucks up
tortures
your
you.
limbs? Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
What's the
That's
one?
you can't do that one. It's unforgivable.
What's the one where you like break someone's brain to the extent that they're willing to destroy their entire reputation online over like petty tweets?
Let me check. That one is I don't want to even do the joke.
She sucks.
Yeah, she's bad.
Yeah, so
The cabin seems nice.
Yeah, I would want phone signal personally.
Yeah,
But they cut the cord. I mean, like
They
basically
cut the
before
Wi-Fi
they
or
show
whatever.
up,
Yeah.
it's a nice looking Airbnb cabin.
Yeah, there's one downside to it though, which is
bookcases.
4 people show up and tell you that you're going to have to make
Yeah.
a terrible, terrible choice.
I feel like it's been a tough couple of months at the movies for Airbnbs.
Yes.
We got Barbarian,
Yeah.
we got Knock at the Cabin, we got David's Toronto Airbnb
that's
story.
tough.
The most
They are
harrowing-
not
The most
recovered.
harrowing
They're
Airbnb
stuck.
story.
Yeah.
of them all.
Cratered
Yeah.
after that episode. It would be funny if the cabin was bad,
yeah.
and then because then like Ben Aldridge could say like, first the sheets were scratchy, now this
Sure.
is happening.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, the last line is 2 stars.
2 stars. Water pressure bad. Also, home invasion.
The cabin industry must be so excited that the new Evil Dead is in an apartment building. They're like, finally, a
Yeah.
break.
right?
Someone else going to
The
shoulder some of
PR
this
team's
shit.
like, we can take a vacation.
We can
It's fine.
finally, sales are going to bounce.
My last episode was the Avatar episode
Sure.
where I talked about Legos
yes.
because my therapist's office is famously next to the
Yes.
Lego store.
Famous.
So I went in yesterday
Mhm.
and I was like, this is so stupid. Like, they're not going to be Knock at the Cabin Legos. But guess what?
They have a cabin?
They have a cabin
Mm.
set.
But
Mm.
they don't have, there's no one knocking, right?
No.
You don't know.
No little
I mean, the
Batista.
whole thing of Lego is you're
I guess you could buy a
you're
Guardians
using
of
your
the Galaxy
imagination.
You could put
set.
Drax
Yeah, put
and
Drax
Ron.
buy
in
a Harry
there.
Potter set.
Yeah.
Right? You can
we
start
can
putting stuff
so
together.
this stay tuned.
Maybe there's a
Maybe-
Hamilton set you could get Groff.
There isn't. Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I'm trying to
I
think
think
of Groff.
Groff is just a
Come on, Lynn.
classic like yellow.
You could get Sven. You could
Head
get
guy.
a Sven from Frozen.
Oh, you're right.
There you go.
Okay, so now we're only 3 cast members away, maybe.
Sven is the good boy with the reindeer. Is that
Yeah.
who he plays?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why everyone was mad that you didn't sing in the first Frozen.
Yes, he sings
It's like he's a good singer.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
Sure. He sings reindeers are better than people. That's it.
yeah.
But then in the second one, he had that Lost in the Woods song.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good.
It was
Frozen 2. Rewatch that one. Still weird.
weird.
Still a movie that takes a lot of right turns all out
Yeah.
of nowhere.
Yeah.
I went to see it with Romley, and she just turned to me halfway through, and she went, "Is this bad?" But it was one of those
Yeah.
And
experiences
you were
where
like, yeah, buddy.
you have to ask it as a question. You're like, "Am I like missing something here, or is this movie not good?"
Oh, boy. Is there anything else you want to talk about with Knock at the Cabin?
Do you guys have air fryers?
No.
I do.
just
I don't
have
use
the
it.
counter space.
I
What
did.
I'm
Why
afraid
are we
of.
bringing this up?
Because M. Night plays an air fryer
Oh,
salesman.
sure, of course. That chicken does look good.
Yeah, I'm pro the night cameo in this one.
Yeah, it's fun.
It would only heighten my believability of like the world might be ending. Isn't that M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan on my television?
He's like, "You want proof? Watch this." Can you believe they let this man on television 12 hours a day?
I'm very interested by what he does next because I do feel like he's consistently surprising right now.
Yes.
Like he's like that he's working quick.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, doesn't feel like he's overthinking it. Is just following whims of what excites him. Nothing hinted at next, right?
Not that I know of.
Yeah. He had a
Mm.
2-picture deal of
This
which
is part
this
2 of that.
ends.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming Universal's gonna re-up,
This movie's tracking to open around 15 to 20. Like
and it
Wait,
cost 20.
So
Yeah.
what do we think comes out on top this weekend?
That's-
Knock or 80 for Brady?
okay, so I think Knock will.
Yeah.
What do you think, Griffin?
I mean, I guess
This
people
is our
are
version of the box
wondering
office
now, is 80 for Brady about to overperform?
Right. Is there going to be some secret, 80 something Brady fan?
I'm
Right.
planning on
demographic?
going.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm making my fiance go because I need context.
Well, double humble brag
Sure.
Yeah, I know.
for the
Getting married.
Super Bowl. You're saying
Well, no, just
for his life.
for just
Yeah.
football in general.
Okay, and this is a good entry.
80
yeah.
for Brady is one of those movies where not just the poster, but any promotional image of it, I'm like, is this photoshopped?
Yes.
Like, it just sort of looks fake
So-
to have Lily Tomlin
And not
wearing
only that, but, like,
a Pats jersey.
Third-party Photoshop replacement app on a phone.
Like, doesn't this look
Yeah.
fake?
Yes.
Nah, that looks real to
But
me.
it's also it looks
that
like
is some real ass hair on Jane Fonda.
it looks like the poster was done on a phone app over 3G.
3G that was in and out.
Yeah.
Some of it was too.
Right.
What would you call this like micro genre of
This sort
movie?
of book club genre.
Yeah.
Where it's like, let's take a bunch of Oscar nominees.
At the Book Club 2 trailer I saw before Otto.
Well, how's that looking?
Incredible.
Oh, yeah? What are they reading this time?
Candace
Buckets!
getting buckets.
Well, of course. Does it open with Candace Bergen doing a 360 spin
Yes.
and dunking it?
Are they?
Yeah, she does a tomahawk slam.
They're going to Italy, right? Are
Yes.
they reading like an Elena Ferrante novel?
No, what are
No,
they
they
fucking
read
reading?
trash in that book club. That's
Yeah.
probably too good for them.
No, Marie, can you look it up?
Yeah.
You got your computer in
Book
front of
Club
you.
1 was one of my best/greatest movie going experiences ever.
I'd had a great time.
I saw it
was.
at the Americana
Yeah.
in Glendale
Sure.
Memes.
on a bunch of edibles
Sure.
and could not believe what I was watching.
I can't wait for Beastie too.
I mean, that movie with the like YouTube karaoke backgrounds,
Yes.
like it's so funny.
The 80 for Brady, my question is, they did these sort of special preview screenings with a free glass of wine and a tumbler or whatever.
yeah.
And those seem to do really well. And I think and people were obviously posting who went to them. And I think that's why people are like, oh, fuck, is this movie about to open a lot bigger than we
Well,
thought? I
people
wonder
have been
if that
saying it's
took
good.
a lot of the excitement out of it. But yeah, I guess people are saying it's fun.
Also, fun fact, it's directed by the guy who made The Climb. Did you see The Climb?
Yeah, good movie.
Yeah.
Good movie that played at Cannes.
I mean, okay movie. But, there was something
I
there.
think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know a lot of good people. But my friend Zach Cooperstein, DP of Barbarian, DP'd The Climb.
It's a good looking movie. I remember that
think
movie being
this
a little
is-
cute.
Directed by the producer of The Climb.
No.
No? Are you
It's-
sure about that?
It's one of the two guys.
okay.
There were like two Mikes.
Yeah.
And one of them, its name isn't Mike Cimino, but
Sure.
it begins with a C.
And it's written by the women who originally wrote Booksmart,
I
right?
hate to tell you this, Marie, but Griffin is correct.
Thank
It's
you.
directed
No.
by the producer of The Climb,
Thank you.
Kyle Marvin.
No, Kyle's the guy in The Climb.
Okay.
I think
And he
he's
also
produced
produced it, but
Yeah.
he did not
But
direct
he's
He
the
didn't. Did Michael direct it?
Well,
They're
I'm going
like
to
a
find that out for you.
partnership.
Kyle is the one who directed.
Michael
80 for
Angelo
Brady.
Covino is
yeah,
the guy who
he's
directed
the other
it.
guy who's
Right.
in The
So
Climb.
Kyle wrote it.
Yeah. So
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, one of the
I don't
guys.
know.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
climb. What did they cheat on each other's wives or whatever? I don't know. I saw it.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for that tiny indie movie. Did they cheat on each other's wives? Something.
One of them.
There's some cheating.
There's some cheating, but yeah.
I think Knock at the Cabin's going to open at number 1. I think 80 for Brady will outgross it.
Maybe
I
because
think
the
that's
book club
it'll
left
have
it
legs.
out.
Yes.
So
Book
if it's
club will
going for
have
that,
legs.
And I think Knock at the Cabin's probably going to be front
Sorry,
loaded
not
as
Book
a lot
Club,
of the
80 for Brady. Sorry.
recent Shyamalans are.
I think it's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
something like Knock at the Cabin doing like 17 and a half,
Mhm.
80 for Brady doing like 13
Yeah.
and a half, Avatar 2 doing like 10.
Yeah.
Man from Otto, surprisingly beating them all with $400 million in its sixth
It's
week.
finally ready. It's been simmering for a while. That movie is bizarre.
Yeah, it's a Forster, right?
Yeah.
Another Forster. He keeps notching them up.
Yeah.
That guy works.
He's one of those guys where every once in a while someone will start a rat thread being like, the case for Mark Forster.
No.
And I'm like, the opposite.
No.
He's like Ratner to me, where I'm like,
Yeah.
he is the diametric opposite of what we're talking
That is
about.
journeyman.
He is the ultimate journeyman. for
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Maybe there was a world where he could have been different, but like he
Didn't happen.
quickly picked the route of like,
Yep.
no, I'll just be like a reliable guy that gets called on to make these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then sometimes he gets called on to make the kind of thing that isn't what you would assume to hire him for.
I didn't realize he was Swiss.
Yep. I have been told
Uh-huh.
by some people
Mhm.
that they think that's why he keeps getting big jobs in Hollywood, is that he presents smarter than he seems because he's got this European accent.
He has that vibe to him.
No offense to Mark Forster, who has genuinely made movies that I like.
He's made some
He's
films,
also
though.
made movies that I don't like.
Yeah.
And that's the mark of a journeyman.
He does look smart. And
Yeah.
in interviews,
like-
he is very well
He
composed.
like has a scarf and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, kind of handsome.
Yeah, he looks like an opera director or something.
Right. you know, he looks like you'd say something and you would not.
Yes.
Yeah,
Anyway, I don't
so-
know. What else do we have to say?
My favorite weapon was the one with the chains and like
Obviously.
a big heavy thing.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd be so into these weapons. Yeah.
Well, I like that they are like, what if we took two weapons and
right.
taped
Axe
them together?
plus mace.
There's something
Yeah.
better than that. They've invented weapons.
Yeah.
They're basically sporking weapons. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
In
Very
this
good.
movie,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I really appreciated that.
I think, but like this movie really bummed the three of us out.
Big time.
We walked
it
out
bummed
of
me
it.
out too.
Yeah.
I was really upset by it. I
Even
just
though
think
the
it's
movie, I
kinda
think,
well
has
done.
a hopeful ending.
It's sort of hopeful dark, which
But
I like.
there are certainly lots of movies that bum me out that I walk out hooting and hollering about
Like
how
what?
good it was. Like Armageddon Time, I remember texting you when I walked out and I was like, that movie is thoroughly depressing. What a masterpiece. It is fucking bleak in its
That
world.
movie is depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Cabin is fucking.
But I
Disney
felt
compared to that
pretty
movie.
amped by how
Yeah,
good
yeah,
it was,
yeah.
despite the fact that it put me in a bad mood. I was like, the fucking craft of this thing, gray, sharpened blade, you know? Whereas this, I don't know, I couldn't quite get my head around it. I like talking about it. I do
Yeah.
think it's interesting.
Very interesting. Knock at the Cabin. We're done talking about it.
Yeah.
It's over.
Great. So we did our
done.
box office prediction game. I don't know. Is there anything else?
Yeah. Where do you put it?
Oh,
That's a good call, actually. Let me see where I put it.
I put it low.
Low.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't think to formally update my rank. Let me see if I have my Shyamalan list here. Okay.
Do you put it
let's slot
below?
in.
Okay, so I'm assuming your top 5, probably in some order, has Unbreakable, The Sixth Sense, Old, Glass,
Well,
and maybe The Village.
My friend, let me tell you, I'm pulling it up. M. Night Shyamalan list. Where is this? M. Night Shyamalan list. Okay. So this is 15. Okay, so I have everything here. My list as it stands right now,
Yes.
knock unranked. Oh boy, I got some weird ones in here. Okay. From top down. Unbreakable.
Mm.
Sixth Sense.
Mm.
Old. Glass, The Village. Lady in the Water, The Visit. Signs, Split. Wide Awake, Happening, After Earth, Praying with Anger, Last Airbender.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm a
Little
lunatic.
crazy.
I forgot my list was this wild.
That's insane.
My inclination is that I would put this between Split and Wide Awake.
I mean, Split and Wide Awake.
I-
Damn.
yeah, I'd have this at like 9.
I have it at 5 right now.
Okay, give me your list.
Village, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense, Old. Knock.
Village, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense. Okay.
Knock.
Wow.
Glass, Split, Visit, Signs. That's sort of the next tier.
Mm-hmm.
Then Praying, which I kind of have in this sort of sentimental, like, look, man, sure, it's a bad movie, but, you know, you were working with what you had.
Uh-huh.
And then I have this sort of like, I'm not sure I can forgive, you know, I can really defend these entirely beyond being weird things
Mm-hmm.
happening. Wide Awake, Lady, After Earth,
I
Last
can't believe you're
Airbender.
harder on Wide Awake than Praying with Anger.
Yeah.
Wide Awake annoys me. I hate that shit. I hate that fucking
Fuck
grandpa
you,
shit.
David.
David.
Fuck you,
Marie
Marie.
worked so hard
I
on that
worked
movie.
so
All
hard
that
on that
Robert
movie.
Loggia. Don't worry, buddy. It's not. It's okay.
David, the movie is called Wide Awake and he can't stop being asleep.
It's a paradox I can't resolve.
He's a tie boy. He's falling asleep while brushing
I-
his teeth.
That's
He's a
sort
hunk
of.
shoe king.
I know he's asleep behind Hong Chu King, and that's great. Me.
The movie's called Wide Awake.
But God, all that Robert Loggia shit bugs me so much. I hate that shit. I'm
sorry.
sorry, M. Night Shyamalan, if you're listening. It's not the worst movie. in the
Just
world.
Robert Loggia.
He's dead.
If he's listening.
Okay, Robert, if you're up there or down there, I don't know. You seemed a little irascible at times.
Yep.
Also, M. Night, if you're listening, sorry about the turd stuff.
Yeah. Oh, also, sorry, I forgot to rank Darkman. Darkman's my number 6.
Sure, I would probably slot Darkman in around 6 on this one
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
I just love Old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Movie.
Old is a banger.
Did we review that on this show?
Oh, we
I
did.
have no memory of that. We liked it, right?
Yeah, we
We
loved
did.
it. And
Yeah.
people have been yelling at us for 2 years thinking
they
it's a
yelled at
psyop.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's a psyop.
Also,
I can now reveal it's a psyop.
Yeah.
I also made
And we were paid hands.
Yes.
But then the money turned to dust.
It did,
was all
unfortunately. The money got old so quickly.
Or even better if it's like got like Queen Victoria.
Yeah.
Like shit.
They gave us like Aztec gold and it deteriorated in between our fingers.
I famously asked people to at us on Twitter why they thought a movie like Black Widow was better than Old, because I could not fathom.
That was like in the summer of 2021.
Yes, I could not fathom having that perspective.
Right.
Yes.
Did people like that? Were they calm and chill?
They were super calm and chill. I did get some people being like, Old is weird and Black Widow is competent. And that was the take. But
Is it though?
to each his own.
Competent ain't the word I'd use for B-dubs. No.
But I will.
There's things I don't mind about that movie, but it does not strike me as a competently made one.
Knock at the Cabin, I did not love, but we did watch a very dour trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Also, I mean, the number one inescapable trailer now. It does not matter what movie you are going to see.
Yeah.
You could see a fucking
Go on.
brackage short film collection and anthology film archives, and somehow the Quantumania trailer comes up.
Yep.
Well, the first one they were showing had that like kind of nice Elton John remix.
Who thought I would long for the days of Quantumania trailer 1?
Yeah.
But now that we're 3 months into the reign of Quantumania trailer 2.
Yeah, now I'm like, So that'll be my new thing. Let me know.
Yeah.
America, blankies, why Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is a better film than Knock at the Cabin.
Murray predicted.
Look, maybe it'll be fantastic. I have no idea. I like Peyton Reed. I like the Ant-Man movies.
I like Paul Rudd.
Did you know that they used the volume on this one?
We got a Maria Menounos Noom thing where they said, actually, would you believe...
Not Noom.
I'm sorry. Noom does not sponsor this podcast.
Nope.
Do not talk to us as if that is a present tense thing because
Noom
you're
does
listening
not
to episodes
sponsor
from 4 years ago. Maria Menounos Nuvi. Would you believe that the production of Quantumania used the same technology for virtual backgrounds as seen in The Mandalorian? It's like no movie has ever looked less like it was shot in any real space.
They didn't go to the Quantum Realm for that one?
No.
No. I think they went to Atlanta.
You know why?
Well, that is the Quantum
Tax incentives were really bad in the Quantum Realm.
Yeah, well, they've got a whole political thing going on right now. Yeah,
Kathy Hochul is.
Kathy Hochul's warring with the state senate.
Yeah,
we got to get you two on Nuvi.
Ben said this.
Bits.
He was getting angry seeing these other guys on Nuvi.
I don't want to be on Nuvi.
And that's what I said.
Getting you on Nuvi, okay?
I would do it for like a really sick amount of money.
Here's
maybe. I don't want to.
David, here was the exact conversation. We're all watching Nuvi. They
Some
do
TikTok fucker shows up.
Some movie trivia segment with some TikTok fucker. Ben turns to me and goes, "Why aren't you guys doing Nuvi?" And I say, David would hate that.
Yeah, I would hate that.
But what was that thing you did that people made GIFs of?
The movies.
The Paramount thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. People didn't make gifts of it. I believe Paramount made gifts of it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if the check's big enough, you'll do it.
I don't want to speak ill of anybody, but the check wasn't big. I think it was just like, I don't know. I was like, you want to come sit in a studio for a couple hours and riff about some movies. And I was like, sure.
Okay, so then Maria Menounos, call us.
All right, you know what? Fine, I'll do Nuvi if the price is right.
Yeah.
Although the thing about it was, I'll say this off mic. It's one of those things where like you take some freelance gig and they're like, so now we're happy to pay you. Give us all of the information on your life. We have to load it into our stupid system to give you, dollars. Not that many dollars. Like that kind of thing. Or they're like, can I have like the last 5 years of your tax returns?
It's the freelance existence of constantly having to do all the paperwork as if you're starting a new career anytime you do a one-day
just so
gig.
Viacom can give you dollars.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I'm not trying to complain. It was fine.
Right. And then like for the next 15 years, Viacom can send you W-9s or W-4s, W-2s in the mail that just say like, we're not paying you this year.
You didn't make any money from Viacom this year, FYI. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I know.
000.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, I don't think those gifts have residuals.
Nuvi, any theatrical chain except for Regal, call us.
Yes.
If, you're looking to...
But isn't Nuvi Regal and AMC as something else?
Oh, is it?
Doesn't AMC have the better one that everyone likes more? Or am I wrong?
I thought Nuvi was an independent entity.
I know, but I feel like they contract with Regal and AMC contracts with
they have a deal with
whatever.
all the Regal locations.
Sure. There used to be Regal First Look. I remember that.
Yeah.
Right. And there used to be the 20 before that, which I loved.
Because I just
Show up
remember
early for the 20.
you'd show up early.
Yeah.
Like I remember that era when
It's
I
the
was
only
going
time
to,
I'd
like,
ever show up early.
going to the fucking Regal like 8 times a week, and I would just see the
Yeah.
stupid pre-roll about the Ben Schwartz spy show, Undercovers,
Mm.
over and over and over.
Does
and
AMC
over
even
and
have a
over.
branded thing anymore? Also, how long is this episode?
We're
been?
done.
2 hours.
Great.
We
Like
have
exactly?
we have a big
Good
clock
luck.
now.
Oh,
and
hey.
it's exactly 2
Wow.
hours 51 seconds.
Well, I hope people like this episode that ended up being a grab bag of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
These new movie episodes are often that way.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine.
Yeah,
Knock
sure.
at the Cabin. I'm sure you all hated it. Sorry. Ben didn't like it.
Yeah, and look, I don't
Nope.
love every M. Night Shyamalan movie. There, are you happy?
But I do think it's interesting. Not a lot of people. I agree with that, David. Not a lot of people are making stuff like this.
Hey, our friends, the Super Yaki, I believe it was Andrew Ortiz, the head of Super Yaki himself, who runs the Twitter account, tweeted this out the other day. But he said there's the line in Signs where they talk about Joaquin Phoenix's disastrous baseball career. And they ask him why he had like such a bad hit record or whatever. And he says it felt wrong not to swing.
Right.
And he was sort of reclaiming that as like the M. Night Shyamalan mantra, where he was like, it's hard to think of another filmmaker who in a career now spanning like 25 years of working at a really high level within the studio system, basically every time takes a wild swing.
Right.
And even his worst movies are bad in ways that are confounding.
Right. He never does something. After Earth is the closest.
Yeah.
But he never does something where you're like, well, he just phoned this in.
He's
Yeah.
not doing the obvious version of that movie.
Right.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I'm as happy for when he misses in a way for me like this that is unique and singular and the work of one man. And it's also just fucking endearing that this guy is doing shit on his terms fully, that he has figured out this way to sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, exist in the mainstream studio system and also completely own his own destiny. And I'm always excited to see what he does next.
Me too.
Yeah.
Same.
Anyway, next week, The Beach.
Oh, yeah. Now,
The
this beach does not make you old.
No, I mean, it makes you old in the regular sense. 1 minute.
You
at a
age in real time.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes. They do leave the beach older than when they got there.
Yeah. Yes. Next week is our episode on The Beach with
Beach.
the mama of the Blankies.
Yes.
Emily Ishida is back.
Back for the first time in a long time.
Not that long.
A year and a half.
Yeah,
We
it's
didn't
been a
realize how
minute.
long it had
We're
been.
sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry.
She did move to LA.
Moved
Yeah.
to LA.
How dare she?
How dare she?
To move to LA and experience great
Anyway,
success.
yes.
How dare she?
The beach next week. We're
The
back
beach.
into Boyle. We'll obviously be taking another quick break for the Blankies.
Yeah, that's in like 3 weeks from now, I think.
Yeah, beginning of March,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
but
March
otherwise,
5th.
keep tuning in. Patreon, obviously. We're now about to start the Men in Black franchise.
The next episode on Patreon will be about MIB, Men in Black. And yesterday we posted our thoughtful
Mm.
and analytical take on Street Fighter.
Street Fighter episode has come out. Okay,
Yep.
that was my question.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you can listen to a Ben's Choice on Street Fighter. You can listen to the
Spoiler: Zangief is in that movie.
Zangief is in that movie.
Zangief himself?
Zangief.
It is the second best performance by Zangief in a movie.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, he's really good in
He's
Ralph.
really funny.
Hadouken.
Yes, and as
Hadouken.
we've been trying to remind people, every Patreon episode gets unpaywalled after 3 years to the day. So every 10 days on Patreon, there's going to be a new exclusive locked episode, but we're also unlocking an old one. We're unlocking episodes from early 2020. So the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe of commentaries, along with the Star Wars commentaries, are out there. And I think we're now into Toy Story commentaries.
No, so we're still now sort of halfway through Star Wars.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, then that's what's going on over there.
Check it out.
You can check that out.
Just go to our Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/blank check.
You can adjust then the year.
Yeah.
Look at 2020 releases.
Yeah, and it's just truly the posts where the episodes went up in 2020 are now just open and unlocked for the public if you want to listen to them there. That's all I've got to say about that. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Hey, thank you to our good friend Marie Bardi.
You're welcome.
Coming up on the 2-year anniversary,
love you,
basically.
Marie.
Love you guys.
You started working right before March Madness.
2021.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
look, spoilers, but we just spent a lot of time right before this, basically tense war room negotiations to settle March Madness for this year, and I think it's going to be fun and normal, and everyone's going to be chill online. I
Yeah.
insist.
Yeah.
Thank you to Alex Barron, AJ McCann for their editing, JJ Burtz for his research, which he didn't do on this episode. Hope you enjoyed the time off, JJ. Thank you to Pat Reynolds and Joe Bowen for our artwork. Thank you to Lane Montgomery and the Great American Owl for our theme song. You can go to blankcheckpod.com for links to some real nerdy shit. As we said, next week we're taking a trip to the beach. And as always, hello.